What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode here of The Nation on the Outlaw Nation channel. I am the Outlaw. Once upon a time, the Outlaw John Rocha. Thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight. You know, I've made an effort to try to go live more consistently throughout the week. I am trying out the 5 to 7 p.m. time slot, see if that works for me. There's a lot going on in the world of entertainment. There's a lot going on in the world. So just doing one Geek Buddies show or one Hot Mic show doesn't seem to be enough. And certainly I want to make sure I can get more content going on the channel. And I do like going live because I like interacting with you all, like hearing from you all in real time as we discuss, or I discuss these issues and hear from you all about what you think about some of the stuff that's going on in the world of Hollywood and sometimes outside of Hollywood, because certainly we veered into the political landscape, the sports landscape throughout these recent live shows. So, you know, it's just me kind of figuring out step by step what I want to do. If I want to start creating segments, depending on the night of the show, certain nights have like certain segments, you know, like Idiot of the Week or something like that, or a heartwarming story of the week, or favorite scene from a movie, or if we're celebrating the 20th anniversary or 25th or 30th or 40th or 10th anniversary of a movie or TV show, we can find a segment, create segments for that. So as you see, this is something I'm playing with, this new kind of look here, this cream with the orange and the black. I kind of like it as a more subdued look for me here, but it depends on how I'm going to get the background to go along with it. So it's not as clean with the background there, but that's kind of what I'm playing with right now. So we'll see how long I keep that, and if I keep it or if something else comes along. But I'm just playing around with stuff as I go along. So it's a work in progress, kind of like those stand-ups who come on stage with their notes and read their bits off their notes. Kind of is what I'm doing here, but we will have a well-oiled machine. I think by the time we fully commit to doing these every night with a much better intro, better graphics, as I said, segments and little videos to introduce the segments, and some of you all chiming in with your ideas as well that we use on the show, maybe toying with one night a week where you guys come in for like an hour and want to talk about a subject or bring up a subject like we used to do back in the old days, maybe on a Friday night or a Thursday, or not Thursday because that would be Hot Mic, but on a Wednesday or Tuesday or Monday night, like, hey, let's hear from the fans for an hour. What do you got? What are your questions? What do you want to talk about? And then you don't have to pay for that or anything like that. You just come on in. So we will see. And maybe I'll make that a tier for the YouTube memberships. Like you get to come in and hang out with me here on the show and ask a question. And then I answer it. And then you roll on and the next person comes in. So that's possibilities in my head for sure. So we will see as that goes along and whatever. So I hope you guys are doing well. I hope your Wednesday is going well. I know it's kind of crazy out there with every time you turn on the TV or every time you turn on the news or whatever, it's getting worse and worse out there. And there's real concern about who's telling the truth, who's not telling the truth. I think a lot of people are waking up to the reality of what's going on outside and outside in our worlds. And so, yeah, it's a little rough right now. So I want to be I want to inform you, but I also want to entertain you. That's kind of the place I'm at mentally when it comes to this kind of stuff. So that's what I'm here to do. And as I said, a lot of people are talking already on, you know, leaving comments talking about how they want to how they're like, oh wow, you're going live again. And yeah, this is something that I'm going to consistently be doing at some point. All of this is going to go away at some point, and it's going to be a much more cleaner look. I mean, essentially the goal is to create the John Rocha show where I just come on. I've got a set of topics to talk about. Maybe as it gets more and more views, as it gets a bigger and bigger footprint, I start to bring on guests or pre-record interviews with guests and talk to them about what's going on in the world. So there's just this impetus for me. And then in the daytime, maybe I drop a trailer reaction or I drop a review or whatever. That's kind of the point of where I'm at mentally about this kind of stuff. So we will see overall how this is going to go. And yes, Adam, you ask if I don't have YouTube memberships. I do not. And that is something that I would need some guidance on. And if any of you guys suggest or are members of other people's YouTube channels and you want to DM me ideas that you've seen that work really well for other people's YouTube channels that I could do, I have no problem doing that because I really want to get this off the ground, the YouTube memberships, and commit to creating more content for that. And of course, the Patreon is up there as well, patreon.com/John Rocha says. And for those who don't know, we have Streamlabs and Superchats open here on this particular show. And when I go live, there's a Streamlabs address right there that you can read in orange. Maybe I should make it a brighter orange or a brighter color there, but it's there. It's also pinned in the chat. It's in the description of the video, or you can send in your super chat. So we already have one super chat that's come in that I'll be getting to in just a little bit. But we got so much, just so much to talk about today. We're definitely going to spend a lot of time on the updates on the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni situation. A lot of you have been following me on that one and going along with the things that I'm exploring or discovering on that particular situation. So there's a lot here to jump into for sure, because there have been a lot of tentacles over the last few days that have connected to this overall massive creature that this back and forth between Blake and Justin is becoming. And certainly the latest tentacles dropped yesterday, right before midnight, as Blake Lively amended her complaint to add 2 new witnesses. Emanuel over the last few days has come out very stringently for Blake and Justin. Blake and Ryan. We also saw over the weekend on the SNL50, Ryan making a completely stupid joke that has backfired on him in a lot of ways. And there's more. There's more that's been happening here around this whole scene and around the drama. We're also going to get into the story from Jeff Snyder. He dropped yesterday on his newsletter here that Andrew Garfield and Jude Law are going to be playing Siegfried and Roy in an Apple Plus series. I'll get some more information on that as well. We're also going to get into a release date for The Last of Us Season 2. So that's going to be interesting to see what you guys think about that Last of Us date, because it's very close. A Bruckheimer UFO story that's becoming a battle in Hollywood. I'm also going to have my Reacher Season 3 review, and if there's enough time, maybe we'll dive into some quick news, breaking news that we have as I peruse the trades near the end of the show. So that might be a new segment that we throw in at the end of the show, breaking news, where before I shut down the live show, I just peruse the trades real quick to see if there are any new stories breaking before we wrap up. And certainly there is a Jack O'Connell story that has just broken before we started, which we'll hit on, and a Poker Face stuff that dropped before we started. And then some Diddy news as well with that ongoing case as well. So a lot to jump into here on the nation. Thanks so much for joining me again. Appreciate it madly. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, would love for you to subscribe down below and hit that bell button. Let us know so that you can know when we're dropping content just like this. Also, down in the comments section below, let me know what you think about everything that we talked about here on the show. After, of course, the show, if you're watching it later, and if you want to send support in for us here on the channel, you can hit that thanks button and send in some monetary support for what we got going on. But as I said, there's also the patreon.com/John Rocha. We've been doing a lot of fun hangouts lately, but there's more to come on that end as well. So we will see how this all goes along. We will see how this goes on today, or goes out to today, and what happens. And I appreciate you all, as I said, taking the time. And don't be shy with your comments, with your suggestions, with your thoughts, with your questions here as we go along. I always appreciate you all and your analysis on stuff. Appreciate your takes on stuff. So it's always fun to read all that here in the during a live show. So, all right, let me take a sip here before we jump into what's going on here in the world of Hollywood here. And certainly we're going to dive into the Blake Lively situation. So let me bring up this article. There are quite a few articles that were written about this, but I really appreciated the Deadline article that was written about this. So that's kind of where I want to go first. So let's bring that up, and we'll read along with it, and we'll have our thoughts on it as it goes along. So sit back and relax, and let's do this thing. I'm bringing it up there, and then I'm going to make myself a little bit bigger there as we look at this article, and I'll make it a little bit bigger. Zoom in. Boom, boom. Okay, here we go. All right, this is Blake Lively alleges Justin Baldoni made other women uncomfortable, quote unquote, on It Ends With Us, and says they will testify at trial. That is massive. They will testify at trial. Defamation claim added to the suit. Now, this isn't the only thing we're going to be talking about in terms of the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively situation, but we're going to be looking at the comments here and looking at the breakdown of it all. Okay, so clearly we need to go a little bit closer for you all. So here we go. All right, there we go. I don't know why it doesn't let you just cut the sides off. Maybe it's, oh, there we go. Okay, that's good. All right. So with minutes to spare before the court-imposed deadline here of midnight Eastern Time Tuesday, lawyers for Blake Lively have just filed an amended complaint against Justin Baldoni in her sexual harassment and smear campaign lawsuit against It Ends With Us co-star and director. In a legal and cultural landscape where the blast radius from the battle is pretty large, things just got a whole lot bigger with more women cited in the amendment. Also, with a settlement nowhere in sight, and that's certainly both Justin and Blake, through their lawyers, said we are not looking to have mediation here or settle this thing. And remember, the court date is not till 2026. And the judge who is presiding over that court case has already told them to not have this battle out in the press. But certainly seems like there's stuff happening here in the press. But the saga of the alleged misconduct, astroturfing, and career crash and burning now finds Lively adding a defamation claim and civil conspiracy in her 141-page first amended complaint. There are also two new but not unexpected defendants in crisis PR firm Street Relations and its founder, Jed Wallace. And we'll get into Jed Wallace a little bit later here on the show. So perhaps more importantly this time, in a complaint 48 pages longer than the New Year's Eve complaint Lively first filed, there are at least two other women cited who allegedly suffered from the situation there on the set of It Ends With Us. Allegedly suffered from the actions of Baldoni Wayfarer Studio CEO Jamie Heath. The individuals' names are left out of the document for now, but it notes that they intend to be witnesses in the trial starting next year in New York City federal court, seeking to get Baldoni's amended complaint dismissed. Lively's amended complaint puts new emphasis on the harassment and the retaliation she detailed in previous filings. It states, the dangerous climate of threats, harassment, and intimidation fueled by the defendant's retaliation campaign has required Ms. Lively to alter her personal and professional life and to take steps to protect innocent bystanders rather than exposing them to further harm. So here we go in this analysis. And listen, by the way, I'm no lawyer, but these are my reactions in analyzing these comments, analyzing these filings. The dangerous climate of threats, harassment, and intimidation fueled by the defendant's retaliation campaign. So she's saying, or through her lawyers, they're essentially saying that people have pushed back on her claims against Justin Baldoni, and the people have pushed back in a way that she feels is threatening harassment or intimidation, and she wants to take steps to protect innocent bystanders rather than exposing them to future harm. And I wonder who that might be. I'm looking at her kids, possibly. And she's talking about how it has altered her personal and professional life. Yes, you made an accusation. You thought you were going to get away with this accusation, and now people have pushed back on these accusations, rightfully so, because in America, you have a right to defend yourself. You have a right to be innocent until proven guilty. And if you have evidence, you have a right to present that evidence in defense of yourself, whether it's in a courtroom or outside of a courtroom. And certainly for those who don't know, Justin Baldoni and Bride Freeman did open that website that has 224 pages of information there and evidence to support their claims against Blake Lively and how she tried to take over the production of the film. And we'll see, if you haven't read all through that, there's a lot there for you all to take a look at. Thus, this amended complaint does not refer to certain witnesses by name, nor does it provide screenshots of their text messages. Importantly, however, these witnesses have given Ms. Lively permission to share the substance of their communications in this amended complaint as contained herein, and they will testify and produce responsive documents in the discovery process. So this is clearly saying that there are two new witnesses who were on the set who witnessed Justin Baldoni's behavior, or Wayfair CEO Jamie Hertz's behavior here, and they have evidence. Jamie Heath, sorry. They have evidence to support that, and they want to give Blake Lively more evidence here, and they will testify possibly to the interactions that they had. Lively's new filing claims Sony production executive Ange Giannetti was aware of the unease Lively and other women allegedly felt. On it ends with us. It goes on to say, more importantly, the defendant's false narrative crumbles under the undisputable truth that Ms. Lively was not alone in complaining about Mr. Baldoni and raised her concerns contemporaneously as they arose in 2023, not in connection with some imagined power play for control of the film in 2024. Now, that half of the sentence is really important for something to bring up later. Not in connection with some imagined power play for control of the film in 2024. The experiences of Ms. Lively and others were documented at the time they occurred, starting in May of 2023. Importantly, and contrary to the entire narrative defendants have invented, Mr. Baldoni acknowledged the complaints in writing at the time. So that's curious. What does that mean? Does that mean Justin received the complaints and said, I hear you, I understand where you're coming from, I'll be more aware of it in the future? Or did he say, oh my God, yes, I'm sorry, I acted this way, I get what you're going for, but I don't believe you, I don't think I acted this way. It could mean any number of things of how he acknowledged the complaints in writing at the time. He knew that women other than Ms. Lively also were uncomfortable and had complained about his behavior. Also, with many meetings, instances, and reproduced text messages repeated from Lively's first court filing at the end of last year, such as the apparent derailment of, quote, long-planned launch of her hair care line, Blake Brown, because of the alleged online smear campaign. So now she's saying that her hair care line, Blake Brown, was affected and derailed by the smear campaign. Not that she did anything wrong. Not that people unearthing these clips of her being shitty to interviewers or her being dismissive or her humor that is a bit abrasive. None of that affected the hair care line. It was this smear campaign. So it's essentially implying that this was all planted, coordinated, and carried out by people who were affiliated with Wayfarer, with Justin Baldoni, and with the people they hired, and Brian Friedman as a lawyer as well, and a couple of other people as well. So this is an interesting situation to see now that she's naming her hairline as having been affected by this. So now she's bringing in the possibility of recouping some money here back from Justin. This is a big time play. She's essentially probably going to use that to say this was the projected amount of money that we were going to make according to our analysts until you pushed back on these claims that I made about you. And people, because the thing is, people noticed that they were not celebrating the premiere together. People noticed that nobody was talking about the director. So people picked that up on their own. It wasn't a smear campaign right from the beginning and let's hate on Blake. No, people were commenting on it, and a lot of people were commenting on it, and it caught fire, and so everyone has been talking about it. It says, tonight's amended complaint seeks to illustrate the stakes in some very real and potentially frightening ways. The defendant's actions have created such a toxic climate of online vitriol against Ms. Lively, her family, other members of the cast, and various fact witnesses that all of the above have received disturbing threats. Now, I'm sure that has happened. I'm not going to in any way say that did not happen. I'm sure people are very unhinged nowadays. People are very upset nowadays. People go online and send some horrific stuff to people nowadays. Death threats over the most innocuous stuff get sent by some unhinged people. Like we've said before, over the last few years, there is a definite mental health crisis in this country. It's not going to get better with RFK Jr. in charge. That's for damn sure. Mr. Anti-vaccine. Anti-medicine, anti-all kinds of things. So this situation might get worse before it gets better in our country. And I kind of weep for that because it felt like we were turning the corner and doing better. And we were aware of this and we were trying to break the stigmas. And now it seems like we're going to be regressing, unfortunately. Anyway, one fact witness known to publicly support Ms. Lively recently received a written threat indicating the witness's family would be sexually assaulted and killed unless the witness agreed to, quote, make a statement and give the truth. This type of climate was the predictable, if not inevitable, result of the retaliatory campaign launched by the Baldoni Wayfarer parties, both before and after the litigation began. Now, this is an interesting situation, right? For certainly, as I said in my post about critics over the weekend, and some of these critics who are, I'm playing the smallest violin for them because they're so worried about how people were going to receive their reviews on superhero movies. Like grow up, this is the game, Pally. You're not always going to be liked by everybody, and this is the game, because if you want the status, the flip side is you're going to get the criticism. You're going to get the praise and the criticism. Talk to any professional athlete, talk to any known celebrity. That is the game. So to complain about it is really a waste of breath. Deal with it or get out of the business. That's really the only two avenues or roads you have to walk. So this situation is kind of relative to that, in that these ideas of a sexual assault or killing somebody, these are out of bounds, which is what I said in my post. That stuff is out of bounds. But other stuff where, look, if you come forward and you make an accusation and this person defends themselves and they have evidence, people have a right to make up their mind as they look at the evidence, and they have a right to call you out. Now, do they have a right to speak to you condescendingly or attack your character? Well, not say attack your character, but attack you in a toxic, vitriolic way. I don't know if necessarily I would approve of that, but certainly they have a right to say, I don't think you're telling the truth. And this is why I don't think you're telling the truth, right? They have a right to say that. This idea of saying it was predictable climate and all of that, you put him on the stake and set fire to him first. And a lot of people came out to come after him. A lot of people went on her side when she came out with her comments about being sexually assaulted or harassed on the set, feeling uncomfortable on the set. So, do you know what I'm saying? There was probably negative stuff sent to him as well for people who were obsessed with Blake Lively. I'm sure there were some unhinged male fans who sent death threats to Justin Baldoni, threatening him and his wife, possibly threatening sexual assault. This is just a big old mess of toxicity amongst these two people. Like the January 31st FAC that Baldoni and crew filed against Lively and Ryan Reynolds for defamation and extortion, replacing their initial $400 million complaint of January 16th, Tuesday's paperwork from Lively supplants her New Year's Eve lawsuit that followed the December 20 filing in California's Civil Rights Department. In both the AFCs, new defendants were added. In Baldoni's case, it was the New York Times, you guys remember, after he sued them for individually on December 31st for $250 million. Tonight, Lively brought on board street relations chief and alleged social media manipulator Wallace, along with previous defendants Baldoni, his Wayfarer Studios, its CEO, and its money man, plus publicists Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel, and Nathan's The Agency Group. The inclusion of Wallace and street relations were anticipated over the past few weeks. However, with a desired protective order against lead team Baldoni lawyer Brian Friedman coming up short with Judge Louis J. Lyman. Remember, they tried to get Brian Friedman silenced, did Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, so that he wouldn't talk about this stuff in the press and go on all these talk shows. Like, he's been on all these talk shows talking about the situation, like Megyn Kelly's show, a few other shows as well, talking about the situation. They tried to get him to be quiet, which to me seemed to indicate that they were upset or nervous about the things that he was saying that were going to undercut the case. The defamation claim now takes on an even more pointed role with the former Megyn Kelly lawyer named specifically. The statements Wayfarer, Baldoni, and Heath, through their agents, including Brian Friedman, published about Ms. Lively are reasonably understood to state and imply that Ms. Lively fabricated claims of harassment and filed false claims of harassment with the Civil Rights Department of the state of California with this court. They issued a statement now saying that Ms. Lively has filed an amended complaint today that provides significant additional evidence and corroboration of her original claims. The evidence includes previously undisclosed communications involving Ms. Lively, representatives of Sony and Wayfarer, and numerous other witnesses. The complaint includes significant contemporaneous evidence that Ms. Lively was not alone in raising allegations of on-set misconduct more than a year before the film was edited, as well as evidence detailing the threats, harassment, and intimidation of not just Ms. Lively, but numerous innocent bystanders that have followed defendants' retaliatory campaign. The amended complaint has also added a new claim for defamation based on the repeated false statements the defendants have made about Ms. Lively since she filed her original complaint, and adds Jed Wallace and his company as defendants. So we know all this stuff. And all right, so with more than a year to go to trial, the schedule will begin on March 2020. Likely certain that there will be more filings.
tonight is fun. I don't know if there's anything more to say on this. Okay, so let's leave that for now. So let's stop sharing for now, because I want to read some more stuff to add on to what we're talking about. So thank you all so much for hanging out. We got 250 of you hanging out right now. Thanks so much for taking the time tonight on this Wednesday night to hang out with me for a couple of hours as we talk about these issues that are going on in the world of Hollywood. Please remember to subscribe down below and hit that bell button so you see we're dropping all the content we do. Don't forget to send in your Streamlabs and Super Chats and all the things that we're talking about here. Your questions, thoughts, and comments, I'll read them as we go along here on the show. So let's add some more context to what's going on here. And let's bring in what THR wrote. And I'm not going to bring that up on the screen. I'm just going to read it to you. Sources indicate to the Hollywood Reporter that the two women who were added to these complaints how can I say this? To support Blake Lively's commentary and experience on the set and claim to be witnesses are actresses Jenny Slate and Isabella Ferrar. Yes, Jenny Slate from Parks and Rec, Obvious Child, SNL, numerous other projects. Isabella Ferrar is a new actress, 23 years old, a relatively new actress, who was part of the cast. So they were both the cast members in the film. And Jenny Slate, if you remember, had that question on the red carpet when asked about Justin Baldoni and working with him as a director and what was it like for him to act in the film and direct the film. And she gave some kind of mishmash word salad about it all and didn't address it. And that really kind of showed people which side of the fence she was on in this situation. So I'm not surprised to hear that Jenny Slate is a part of this thing. That's who THR is speculating. I am not speculating, so don't come for me. I'm reading what THR put in here. And Isabella Ferrer is the other actress that is a part of this thing. Oh, Jenny was also in Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's right. Importantly, these victim witnesses have given Ms. Lively permission to share their communications in the amended complaints that are laid out, and they will testify and produce documents in the discovery process. That's huge. Depending on what they can surrender and deliver to Ms. Lively and to Blake, rather than to her lawyers, there is a lot here that could turn on Justin Baldoni. I mean, that's the thing that's been amazing about this case, isn't it? You guys have been following the case. Like 1 second, you see it looks like, oh wow, Justin made some mistakes. Then Justin reveals some text messages and some communication. Like, wow, that seems to implicate that Blake had other ideas in this whole situation. And now we've just gone back and forth, and the power dynamics have shifted. One person's on top in one filing, then the next filing, another person's on top. So it seems like now with these witnesses, this could be damaging to Justin Baldoni's version of events, his points of views on this, and Brian Friedman's conversations in the press about what happened here. It further goes on to say Ms. Lively has filed an amended complaint today that provides significant additional evidence and corroboration of her original claims. That evidence includes previously undisclosed communications involving Ms. Lively, representatives of Sony Wayfair, and numerous other witnesses. It includes significant contemporaneous evidence that Ms. Lively was not alone in raising allegations of on-set misconduct more than a year before the film was edited, as well as evidence detailing the threats, harassment, intimidation. We read that already. And this is a THR speculating this, having two more women from the production allegedly claimed that they were likewise mistreated by the director could push this case now into Me Too territory. So it's no longer just Justin versus Blake. Now, if these two women, these two actresses, provide evidence that they submitted at the time that they were feeling harassed or what have you, and experienced negative behavior from Justin Baldoni or Heath over there from Wayfair, that could turn the tide a little bit in this whole situation. But Brian Friedman, the lawyer for Justin Baldoni, responded to this lawsuit and said he said it was filled with, quote, unsubstantial hearsay of unnamed persons who are clearly no longer willing to come forward or publicly support her claims. Since documents do not lie and people do, the upcoming depositions of those who initially supported Ms. Lively's false claims and those who are witnesses to her own behavior will be enlightening. What is truly uncomfortable here is Ms. Lively's lack of actual evidence. So that was Brian Friedman's response to all of this. So they have some text messages that were included in this new filing. I will read those now, or a couple of those. On May 24th of 2023, Lively confided in a text to a woman who was a mutual friend of Baldoni and Heath. I was going to invite you to set tomorrow. These people, whoa, it's like HR nuts today, the both of them. I wasn't expecting that turn. I mean, it's been present, but today I came home and cried. So this is an interesting text message. Now, the more cynical part of me goes, she was planning this for quite some time. If you're planning this and you've got a little bit of a mastermind approach to the whole situation, sending a text like this just in case so that it can be used later on down the line, you can look at it more real cynically that she might have done that. Or this is someone who is legitimately experiencing the things that she's claiming that she experienced, and she is speaking to a friend of Baldoni and Heath's, which is an interesting decision to text a friend, a mutual friend of Baldoni and Heath, about what's going on, and then to call them out to a mutual friend, right? This is what's interesting. A woman who is a mutual friend of Baldoni and Heath. So you're going to say to this woman who is a friend of Justin and a friend of Jamie Heath, I was going to invite you to set tomorrow these people. So basically her friends, Justin and Heath, Baldoni and Heath, who are her friends, woman friends, these people, whoa. It's like HR nuts today, the both of them. I wasn't expecting that turn. I mean, it's been present, but today I came home and cried. So was she trying to win this person over to her side, or had she had friendship conversations and relations with this woman, and so she felt she could open up to her because she is friends with Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath? And did they develop this relationship over the course of time? So that'll be interesting. Further in the exchange, Lively describes Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath as, quote, creeps. So now she's telling this woman that the two men that are her friends are, quote, creeps. Like, keep your hormones to yourselves. This is not mine. I don't want it. I don't want your sick gaze or words or tongue or videos of your naked wife. Yeah, it's shocking. Clowns. Hold on. As I've said before, I don't think Blake is a wallflower, and we certainly know she's not a wallflower. So for her to send this stuff and then end it with clowns, that's a definitive, strong statement. That is not a scared person. That is not an unsettled person. The way she's saying this stuff, they are creeps. Like, keep your hormones to yourselves. This is not mine. I don't want it. I don't want you or gaze or your words or tongue or videos. Clowns. So all of that is a strong rejection. It is not a text message saying, I'm so uncomfortable. I don't know what to do. You're friends with them. What should I say? How should I deal with this? They're doing this. They're showing these pictures, these videos. I don't want it. I don't know what to do here. Let me know what to do. No, this is a much more aggressive text, abrasive text, a fighting text, which I think she has every right to do if she's in a position where she feels like she's being harassed, she's being manipulated, or she's being sexually assaulted or abused, or her body is not being respected in the personal space of it all. Like, that is a very valid thing to send to someone, right? And so I don't know how to read this other than this is a very much like, ugh, they're being idiots and they're showing me stuff that's so stupid and blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't seem like it's this emotionally destructive thing that's happening. That being said, it doesn't mean that it didn't feel that way to her. I want to make it very, very clear. So I'm speaking to both sides on this, right? So I give my analysis and my somewhat cynical approach to Blake because I'm not the biggest fan of Blake. But I also want to respect the fact that this could have actually happened so that I'm not sitting here being supremely biased, right? We don't need bias in this situation. We need to look at it objectively as much as possible. Yes, do I lean towards Justin and Jamie in this situation? Yes, I do, but it does not mean that I couldn't change my mind if more of this stuff comes out, more evidence and what have you. A few days later, on May 26, 2023, Lively reported her concerns regarding unwelcome and inappropriate behavior by Baldoni and Heath to Sony employee Ange Giannetti, which we had said that earlier. The suit says Baldoni acknowledged the complaints in writing, as we said earlier. Over the following 3 days, another female cast member reported her own concerns regarding Baldoni's unwelcome behavior to both Giannetti and one of the film's producers. The amended complaint has also added a new claim for defamation based on the repeated false statements that the defendants have allegedly made about Ms. Lively since she filed her original complaint, and adds Jed Wallace and his company as defendants. And we'll talk about Jed in a little bit. The amended complaint further alleges that Wayfair co-founder and billionaire Steve Sarowitz told a witness that he will, quote, protect the studio like Israel protected itself from Hamas. There were 39,000 dead bodies. Good God. That is not a comment that I think would be unbelievable for a producer or a CEO or someone who has survived the wars in Hollywood to be successful. That is not an unbelievable comment for them to make. When you talk with producers in Hollywood, when they're not like on camera trying to be nice and promote a movie, they can be quite brutal in their conversation, brutal in their dialogue, brutal in how they treat people, brutal in how they talk about things, brutal in how they connect real world unsettling events to, a dispute that's really small on a Hollywood set. So that is not out of the realm of possibility to believe that a billionaire who probably sees people as lesser than him would use these quotes. I'm not saying that he did it. I'm not saying that he didn't do it. I'm saying that it's believable that he would say it. So I'm not dismissing this out of hand initially. But I want to go back a little bit to this other female cast member. Now, if this is Isabella Ferrer, you have to ask yourself, she's 23. She's a young actress on the set. She is with Blake Lively, who is a very strong energy. She wants to make it in Hollywood. So you have to ask yourself two things. One, is this a legitimate thing that we're seeing? Like, is the connection between them a legitimate connection? Is she saying this to support? Did she do this of her own volition? Or is it possible that Blake Lively got to her, asked her to, do something here, asked her to say something, asked her to maybe make a complaint here? Because if she makes the complaint, then she'd be in the good graces of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, and she could really establish herself going forward with work as an actress. Now, I'm not trying to impugn Isabella Ferrer's character, because I certainly don't know who she is or have had no interactions with her or ever met her that I believe so in my life. You never know sometimes who you meet in passing at a party or whatever. But it's very, if you can accept one side of the case or one side of the coin, you can accept the second side of the coin. So this could be a very legitimate complaint. And she was, she felt emboldened because Blake made her complaint to make a complaint herself because she had felt uncomfortable on the set and about what was going on. And so she felt the need to say something, right? And so it's very possible that happened. The other possibility, and this is her with Blake at looks like the London premieres. I think it's Big Ben behind them there. It ends with that. This is her. So essentially you could see that this is someone who may see Blake as her mentor, who wants to make it in Hollywood and has no problem possibly being on her side in a complaint like this. Again, I'm not impugning her character. I'm not saying she did this and she legitimately did this or she's a terrible person. I'm saying you have to consider all the possibilities in a situation like this. And I think you can consider the fact that it could be very much possible that she was encouraged to make a claim here with possible, how can I say this? A possible benefit down the road for making the complaint. But I don't know. We will see. Let's see what else here. The complaint claims he told this, staying with Steve Sarowitz, who again is the co-founder and billionaire. The complaint claims that he told this unnamed witness, quote, there will be 2 dead bodies when I'm done. Minimum. 2, not dead, but you're dead to me. So that kind of dead, but dead to a lot of people. So it's very strong comments. I could absolutely see Steve Sarowitz saying something like this. Again, I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying he didn't. But when you've dealt with producers in Hollywood, that kind of language is not out of the realm of possibility. Not for every of them, not for all of them, but certainly some of them. I think it's very possible And the complaint also alleges that he has Lively alleged in her original complaint that Steve has not denied telling another third party he was, quote, prepared to spend $100 million to ruin the lives of Ms. Lively and her family. From what I understand from some sources I've reached out to over the last couple of weeks, there is this feeling that he has quite a lot of money and he is quite willing to fight this, to defend his company and defend Justin Baldoni, and he has no problem spending the money to do it. And so I think that is believable for me personally, a little bit more than the other comments, which could go either way. This one I've heard from other sources, my own sources, that there is legitimacy that he is willing to spend a lot of money in order to defend Justin and his company in this situation. As we know, neither side has agreed to engage in settlement discussions. So that's there. And the Wrap chimes in with their own take on this, and so let's read that. The Wrap they say per the Wrap, the new lawsuit further adds new details and quotes that are expected to prove Lively's sexual harassment claims. There is a woman or two that I, in some way, made uncomfortable by saying something or doing something that was chauvinistic or sexist. There is 1,000,000% probability that exists. Baldoni is quoted as saying in the filing. So is it what Justin said on the set? And that would be hearsay, or is that a text message that he received? Let me read that again. They're claiming in their lawsuit that Justin Baldoni said this. There is a woman or two that in some way that I in some way made uncomfortable by saying something or doing something that was chauvinistic or sexist. There is 1,000,000% probability that exists. So him saying that exists, that someone might be upset about it, doesn't mean that he believes that he was being sexist or chauvinistic or made someone uncomfortable. He was alerted to the fact that there's a possibility that one or two women were made to feel this way by him. So he's acknowledging that the probability exists. He is not saying that he has done it or that he agrees with that assessment of what he did, but he is saying that it's possible. So I think that's an interesting way to look at that. So to try to use that as a definite, I think is some very unsturdy ground to be standing on. It's kind of like a sandcastle when the wave is coming in. Lively also denied Baldoni's claims that she took over the film. In paragraph 166, she notes, quote, and notwithstanding their complaints today that Ms. Lively supposedly seized control of Mr. Baldoni's film, that did not stop Mr. Baldoni from proudly marketing the film as his work on release. Indeed, although Mr. Baldoni privately confessed that he did not even see the final cut of the film until the premiere, he repeatedly and publicly took credit for the film while Ms. Lively generally downplayed her contributions. Now, that is a phenomenally false assessment of what happened here, because Justin's job is to promote the film. So as a director, if Sony decides this is the cut we're going with, he is probably contractually obligated as a young up-and-coming director to promote the film. His name is on the film as director, so that's his job. He's not going to step out and start to bash the film as the cut that wasn't his. He wants to stay in Hollywood. He wants to keep working. So there's no logical reason that he would come out and say that he's not the director of the film, even if it's the cut he didn't want to do, right? He would have lobbed a, Alan Smithy type of complaint to have his name taken off the film. But clearly, since he owns the rights, or they own the rights collectively, him and Wayfarer and I think Sony as well, he didn't want to undercut the film, right? Why would you cut your nose to spite your face? It doesn't make sense. So to blame him for promoting the film as his own, I think is a very erroneous approach or assessment of the situation. Miss Lively downplaying her contributions? No, that's not true. From the beginning, on the red carpet, at these premieres, she has let it be known the things that she has worked on, the things that she did, that she picked out the clothes, that Ryan Reynolds wrote the scene that is on the rooftop, which some people have alleged he wrote during the writer's strike, which makes it even more of an a-hole move. So we heard all those stories coming out through comments in interviews and comments on the red carpet and what have you. So Lively took credit for different aspects of the film on the red carpet. So this is their assessment, The Wrap. Some of them include picking the movie soundtrack. She was vocal about that, because it featured her best friend Taylor Swift there with her My Tears Ricochet song. She later confirmed campaigning to keep Lana Del Rey's Cherry in an unfitting scene before Ryle's Red Flags come out, and that was through hit radio. Lively also took credit for the costumes Lily wears in the film, many of which she later revealed to be her own clothing or Ryan Reynolds' clothing, which is kind of weird, as she revealed in an interview with People. Now, she's also, so that's an interesting decision by The Wrap to editorialize a little bit, to give perspective here, to say so they're essentially saying that her people saying that she downplayed her contributions is utter nonsense. She was quite vocal about her contributions. She clearly wanted to be the point person for the film, or else she, with her team, wouldn't have sent Justin Baldoni down in the basement with his wife and with his people during the premiere, which is a super asshole move. She also claims in this new complaint, she brought up the strain her legal tussle with Baldoni has had on her family, especially her kids. So now she's roping her kids into this complaint. Oh, Hollywood, roping her kids into this complaint and saying that they have been traumatized by this. According to page 6, Lively said here, noted that her children, James 10, Inez 8, Betty 5, and Olin 2, have been, quote, emotionally uprooted in ways that have substantially impacted their well-being. Now, the actress's husband, Ryan Reynolds, is also described as being, quote, affected mentally, physically, and professionally by his wife's and children's pain. In the complaint, Lively also highlights the personal challenges she has faced due to her legal drama, stating that she has, quote, struggled to get out of bed some days. Quote, she frequently chooses not to venture outside in public, even though she was at SNL50, while she has fought to maintain her personal life and business interests behind closed doors. She has suffered from grief, fear, trauma, and extreme anxiety. She's also faced, quote, repeated and painful physical symptoms. So this is clearly a filing to turn Blake Lively into the victim yet again here of this shitstorm that they both started. They both started this shitstorm. Remember, she filed the complaints first, and that's what caused Justin to file. So this is all, so this idea of like, oh, the fight is hurting me or my kids or my husband, you wanted to get into this. Like, this is how it works. You wanted to get into this, and if you were really wanting to just be done with this, why are you not participating in mediation? Why are you not trying to settle this thing so you can just be done with it and move on with your life? You can roll out your hair care line. Ryan can go back to making his yuck jokes and making his money on Deadpool, and messing with other people and fucking up their lives behind the scenes. You can go back to all of that. And your kids, who, by the way, I'm not going to say anything negative about her kids like that and their kids like that. That is out of bounds territory. I'm sure the kids have been at times, I'm sure the kids have been traumatized. I wouldn't doubt it, because they see that their mother and their father are getting destroyed on social media. They see what that effect is having on them, because look, Blake and Ryan are a brand, right? They are a brand. They've been together since, I think, 2012. They're a brand. They come as two people, and they're seen in a certain way. And Ryan has certainly pushed that narrative, like Ellen, like all these other people who are like, hey, I'm a smiley nice guy or smiley nice person. But behind the scenes, there have been quite a lot of rumors about how he's treated people behind the scenes, Tim Miller being one of them, and he has been caught up in this as well, as Justin Baldoni's people have asked for text messages, emails, and communications between him and Ryan Reynolds. So you see that happening here throughout with this situation. So I get that her children, I would absolutely say that's probably true, because their parents are being attacked in ways that they've never been attacked before, because they opened the door to this stuff. And I get it. You could argue in a stripped down, idealistic vacuum world, you can say she felt that she was harassed or sexually assaulted on the set, unwanted advances, what have you. So she has a right to fight against a person who was an aggressor, a predator, or who abused her on the set. 100%. I will never say she doesn't have a right to fight against this stuff, right? By the same token, if Justin feels like he's being unfairly vilified and unfairly blamed because Blake might be trying to angle to take control of this franchise and the rights and everything involved with it, well, Justin has a right to defend himself. And people who read these text messages, read these filings, they have a right to make numerous TikTok videos and do YouTube videos like I'm doing now, or do podcasts where they look at and explore the history of Ryan Reynolds in Hollywood, the history of Blake Lively in Hollywood, and connect it up to some of the stuff that happened here or had allegedly happened here or didn't happen here on the set, and call them into question. This is the real world. There is not a vacuum here. And so you have to, this is part of engaging in a back and forth. This is what's going to happen. This is part of escalating a back and forth. And so you see it very clearly that this is something that is effective. I have no doubts that there are days that she has struggled to get out of bed, because I'm sure she enjoyed the comfortable, privileged, rich, white existence of being married to Ryan Reynolds, of being able to do occasional movies and be okay in them and make a little bit of money, and then try to go like, well, you know what? I'm a brand. I'll now create hair care line. I'll now do workout clothes. I'll now do makeup. I'll now do whatever. Sure, it's the privileged life you're living, and you were enjoying that. Then you played a power move here with this movie, and it's blowing up in your face. And so I have no doubts that there are days that she struggles to get out of bed, because she probably didn't think it was going to go this way at all. But this is the game. And when you and Ryan, who have a lot of money, are going up against a billionaire who has a little bit more money, it gets real hairy. And especially if that billionaire has no problem supporting and spending and financially supporting the case from one side to do all these filings. Because, I mean, Brian Friedman is a very well-known lawyer, and he does not come cheap, and do all these things that are going on here. Start a website, post all the stuff on the website. Like, that takes a lot of money to all the stuff that's going on here. So if Justin Baldoni was just an up-and-coming small-time director who had podcast money, there is no way this would still be going on. He'd have taken his hits. He'd have taken the losses. He'd have gone away for 5 years and claimed to be doing the work to be a better person, and then come back to Hollywood to try to direct some small stuff and build his reputation back up again. But because he is supported by a guy who's got a lot of money, like Steve Sesowitz, he is fine to keep fighting this fight because he's being supported financially by someone like him. So it's an interesting situation when you look at it overall. So this is where we're at. Oh, sorry. I'm going to take a drink now. There's a lot that we're talking about. So this is a lot of stuff, and I like it. I mean, I get that you guys are on both sides of this because it's a very divisive situation. You see Andrea G said they thought they were untouchable. You see Anthony Mackie and saying, man, Blake Lively can kiss my black ass. All right, Captain America, easy now. But Bobby is saying Justin is mad his fake feminist business plan got exposed. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. You've got both sides on this situation that is going on here. Now let's add some more. So do I have any? Okay, so I've got some Streamlabs super chats. So keep sending them in, folks. I am going to read them in a little bit. What are your thoughts on all of this? Let me know what your thoughts are on all of this. You see the Streamlabs address right above my head. It's also pinned in the chat. You can also send your super chats here as we go along. So send them in to show support. We got 320 of you joining me live right now. Thank you so much for taking time on this Wednesday night to hang out with my crazy ass as we look at all these issues going on here in the world of Hollywood. Send in your love, send in your support. Would appreciate that very, very much. And just when you thought we were done with this, we are not done with this situation. Let's take a look at, this is a very interesting thing that happened over the weekend at the SNL50 celebration, right? Some of you may have seen this already. Some of you may not have seen this already. So let's take a look at this. And I'm going to try to see if I can get away with showing this without getting a strike or a takedown or anything like that happening here. But let's take a look at this sequence that happened. So you have an SNL50 so Ryan Reynolds is sitting there with Blake Lively, right? You see Steven Spielberg, Kate Capshaw. You guys can see them, right? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so you see Steven Spielberg there, Kate Capshaw. I think that's Bad Bunny all the way to the left, Anya Taylor-Joy. Will Ferrell's right below them. So this is during the Amy Poehler and Tina Fey sequence where they were asking questions of the audience. This was one of the funniest sequences of that entire show. I thought the show was fine. I didn't think the show was that great. I thought some of the skits kind of fell flat because there was a lack of timing. All these people coming together to work together over 3 or 4 days. It wasn't as strong as it could have been, but it was just fun to see all these people come back and celebrate SNL and what have you, regardless of what Lauren said, which I thought was hilarious, saying that SNL has always been impartial. That is hilarious to me. Anyway, Ryan raises his hand, right? And he stands up and he's asked, let me see if I've got the sound up. All right, so let's go past this because
How's it going?
So-
How's it going? How's it going?
Great.
let's go back here.
How's it going?
Great.
Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
So look at the look that Blake gives him when he says that. And look at her face. That is not someone who is laughing along. That is not someone who is like, oh my God, that's so funny. She is looking at him like, what did you just do? Why did you say that? And look at Ryan. Ryan looks a little worse for wear. Let's be honest. This is not someone who looks all that happy. Everyone else is laughing at it because everyone else is not involved in the drama. Cher is laughing. David Byrne up there is laughing. Bad Bunny's got a smile on his face. Anya's got a little bit of a perplexed smile on her face. Will seems to be smiling down there from his squinted eyes. De Niro is kind of lost a little bit, but hey, De Niro's a little old. Spielberg, though, big grin on this one. But who is not smiling? Blake Lively. And who else? Kevin Costner, who is burning 2 holes in Blake Lively to see her reaction to Ryan essentially making light of their situation by saying, why? What have you heard? And here's the reaction from Tina and Amy. Yeah, they don't want to touch it, right? And they're doing the hand thing, which is funny when you look at it. But that's essentially the situation. So let's watch that again. I want to watch that again to see, because Tina goes.
Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
So look, now watch Blake Lively's face. She's smiling. She's smiling. They've been recognized. Ryan's standing up. She's supporting her husband. Now look, Kevin is staring daggers at Blake. Unless he is staring daggers at Steven Spielberg's the back of his head for any kind of reason. He is looking right at Blake to see her reaction to this, right? She is smiling. She is smiling. She is smiling. Ryan says, why? What have you heard? And look at her face. Look at this. Look at the switch. Like, that is such a turn. You all have been there. You know when someone's like, wait, what? Like, that is essentially what just happened. And so clearly, Ryan, a lot of people thought, like, why would Ryan do this? What is the logic in this? Why would you do it? Again, one more time, smiling, very happy. And then why? What have you heard? What the hell? Why the hell would you say that? And Kevin is looking right at them. So you see that. So it came out today that there is more on this situation. Let me give you some background on this. And this is from a couple of articles that I've got here. During this sketch here, multiple people slammed the actor for his on-brand humor there, noting the joke was weird, considering his wife's sexual harassment lawsuit. Others defended the Deadpool star, highlighting that his signature humor might be a coping mechanism. It's fine. I can respect that. We all got our coping mechanisms. Mine is to sometimes yell. Other people is to make jokes. You just never know. Some people just kind of shut down. I just saw an episode where a person likes to lie down on the floor when they feel confronted. However, and this is interesting knowledge to have on this, a longtime SNL crew member alleged that Reynolds' joke was improvised during that SNL50 sketch. This guy, what's his name? His name is SNL's Q Card Wally, whose real name is Chris Wally Ferriston, was on the Fifi, Fev, and Nick podcast. I've never heard of that, but shout out to them to get the Q Card guy on there. Q Card Wally is the crew member who has been with the show for 35 years. So he's not speaking out of turn here. He's not some new kid that showed up as a PA and was handed the cards to do. This person has been doing it for 35 years. Revealed that for the 50th anniversary show, they used some of the most cue cards ever, around 3,000 cue cards. That's insane. When asked whether Ryan Reynolds' bit was scripted or improv, Ferriston said, quote, that was actually, he had a different line in rehearsal and he pitched that one to replace it. So that was his idea to do it. We wouldn't want to do anything too controversial unless they were in on it. So yeah, that was his line. That was his idea to do it. That is such a colossal misstep. Because why would you make light of your wife's sexual harassment experience on set if it was true? And this goes to the nice pool aspect of it all, right? Why would you create a character in your movie that is supposed to be about Marvel characters and the MCU and bringing Deadpool into the MCU and bringing Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine? Why would you create a character to pettily say fuck you to Justin Baldoni and make light and ridicule what you think is his fake feminism as a man? The only one who gets killed is Nice Pool, and who kills him? Oh, Lady Pool, who was Blake Lively in the movie, even though she never took off her mask. So this goes along with this. Brian Friedman, who is the lawyer for Justin Baldoni, chimed in after this joke, I think the next day, and said, I'm unaware of anybody, frankly, whose wife has been sexually harassed and has made jokes about that type of situation. He said this on the new appearance on Hot Mics with Billy Bush. Oh, you asshole, you took our fucking title, you bastard. Of course, Billy Bush. Why would he ever earn anything in life? Just take his name. Oh, you bastard. I can't think of anyone who's done anything like that, so it surprised me. So I think that's a very fair assessment to it all. Who jokes about their wives' sexual harassment to a live national global audience without her permission? I wonder if he even told her he was going to make that joke. So it's kind of surprising to me that this situation went down the way it did. I'm looking up Hot Mics right now with Billy Bush and when this fucking channel was started, because now November 13th of 2024. That is last year. Oh, I'm sending this to Snyder right now. Oh my God. It didn't even occur to me that this was the name of his show. Now, I wonder if I can file a lawsuit on this bastard and see if he watched the Hot Mic and took Hot Mics with Billy Bush as his title for his show and took it away from us. Not that the Hot Mic was trademarked by us or anything like that. But I mean, we should be able to make a case, for God's sakes. That is fucking mind-blowing to me that he would name it and essentially be asking people about their stuff. That is not cool at all, man. So we will see. I mean, I'll gladly feud with Billy Bush. That little waste, that panty waste. I will absolutely feud with him. And the way he handled that whole situation with Trump and then later tried to play both sides, the sack of crap. Anyway, so that is the situation. So I agree with Brian Friedman's assessment here. Why would you joke about it if it actually happened? And judging from her reaction, he clearly did not have permission to make this joke from her. Or if he did, why did she react that way? Why did she immediately? Was that part of the bit? Because if it was part of the bit, they should have exchanged a look together about her being upset about him referencing it and him going, oh, sorry about that, honey. You know, that's the joke. But her spitting like that and looking right at him, to me, makes it very clear that she was not happy with him saying the things that he said. So it's a pretty crazy situation. So, all right. Easy, Anthony. Easy, buddy. Lee Muba, how can you think that it was part of the bit if no camera was focused on her face looking that way at him. That is not part of the bit. Nobody caught that until it was in slow motion. So, yeah. So he came up with that line. He said that line. He planned that line. So, but I have to ask, her looking at him pretty upset. That's very weird. And from what a lot of people said or what's been reported, people avoided them at the after party, at the SNL after party. People left them alone. People didn't talk to them. And I probably imagine why. Maybe a lot of people aren't on their side. And certainly Hollywood has a great way that when the assholes are exposed, people flee them like rats on a sinking ship. Look how many people did not talk about Ellen's special, who could have promoted Ellen's special, who could have put it out on their social media, who could have gotten their millions and millions of fans to watch that special. How many outlets did not interview Ellen about the special? Like, there was so much that could have been done for that special that she released. No one. It came out and it sank like a baby Ruth in the fucking pool in Caddyshack. So it is, well, actually that floated. So it sank like a brick, I guess I would say. So I forgot about that in the movie. But anyway, so this is the situation. So it's not surprising to me if they're from the reports that people did not want to talk to them at the after party. So very, very interesting stuff. Now, one element of this I want to go back to, and thanks to the 315 of you who are joining me live. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Look, some of you are going to agree with me. Some of you are not going to agree with me. That's how it goes. But I appreciate you watching me, and I'm never going to be mad at anyone who disagrees with me as long as they disagree with me in an agreeable way. You got no problem with that in that way. So please feel free to make your comments as we go along in the chat. I'm not going to block you or kick you out unless you're being an a-hole. Then I'll do that. But usually I don't mind people having their conversations back and forth. Healthy debate, I think, is a very positive in this world. I'm a big fan of it. Read what you like, watch what you like, but then you got to defend it. And that's always where the debates come in. So earlier in the comments, in the lawsuit, they pushed back on this idea that Blake Lively wanted to control the production, right? Like they call it I think they called it a fantastical or fictional narrative that she wanted to control the production. However, a new video has surfaced, thanks to TMZ, that profiles Blake Lively's reactions and comments at a 2022 Forbes Power Women's Summit. She was speaking candidly about feeling unfulfilled by acting alone. I mean, you're barely a decent actress. It makes me laugh that you're not fulfilled, that you're unfulfilled by. This is like Jessica Alba. Jessica Alba is a marginal actress at best. And like, the acting, I'm just not as fulfilled by. Yeah, when you're not good at it, you can be unfulfilled by it. That's for sure. Explaining that she often wants a greater role in shaping the story behind simply just delivering her lines. These are her quotes from this surfaced video that TMZ found. I also knew that that wasn't fulfilling for me, that I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, the costume design, creating the character. She admitted that she often downplayed her creative ambitions during early meetings, waiting until she was already on the set to assert herself. When I was in meetings, I was like, I'm just here to be the actor and I'm here to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I needed to have authorship to feel fulfilled. And I feel for them. It felt like a rug pull, and you're trying to insert yourself into something we didn't hire you to do. She said that some directors and writers and producers welcomed her input, and some didn't. Quote, sometimes I had the director, writers, producers who would welcome that once I was able to offer that. And sometimes I had people who resented that because they just hired me to be the actor. And she further reflected on the delicate balance of asserting herself creatively while respecting the existing team's vision with this quote. It's just as important to say, I'm standing up for this and I believe in this, and that's why I'm not being difficult. And there's other moments to say, am I being the asshole here in the room? What is happening here? So, again, this is not some wallflower wilting in the face of pressure. This is a hard-ass woman who has no problem going on to she admits this in 2022, that she pulled essentially, like she said, she pulled the rug out from under these people who hired her as just an actor. Now, you might say to yourself, well, a female actress sometimes has to kind of, roll with the punches just to get on the set. Then once you get on the set, you kind of figure out your ways of doing things. It's a sexist world. It's a patriarchal world. It's a difficult business on women. Listen, you're never going to get me to contradict that in its overall assessment. This is a very tough business, the entertainment business for women. It's a very difficult business for actresses, especially actresses that get older. And yes, there's a lot of sexism. There's a lot of patriarchal approaches to things. There's a lot of misogyny that happens in Hollywood for sure. I'm never going to dispute that, right? But this idea that she thinks she needs to go this route, this is a person who doesn't see themselves as intelligent. Most intelligent people aren't going to be, and there's quite a lot of intelligent female actresses who would never pull this. Do you think Meryl Streep would ever pull this, or Julianne Moore, or Jane Fonda, or Sally Field, or God knows how many really strong? Do you see Florence Pugh playing I just want to do the role to trick the directors and the producers and the writers just to get on set so she can make the move to take control of a film? That would never happen. There are people who believe in their talent. They are actually talented, and they don't need to trick people to get on set in order to have a voice on the set. And that's the thing I think it's a flaw in her logic, is that you're tricking people to get on a set by claiming you just want to be in service of the project. But you know full well the whole time that you're going to find your moments to try to take over a project. And you're essentially admitting that in these quotes. So this idea that this is a fabricated narrative that Justin and his people are creating out of thin air, that she would ever want to control a set, control what happened on the set, or take authorship of a movie, is completely wrong. She is saying in her own words that she has strove to do that in the past, that she didn't name movies where she's done this or TV shows where she's done this, but she's clearly done this in the past, and that's her way in. Why? Because she's not confident of her talent. Why? Because she's not that good of an actress. She's okay. She's certainly hireable, but she's not great. And I'll admit it, I liked her in The Shallows. I hated her in The Town. She's so unbelievable in The Town. You're a federal agent, you'll figure it out. It's not really a strong performance when you're watching Ben Affleck and when you're watching Jeremy Renner and other actor and Rebecca Hall, who is fantastic in that film. Blake sticks out. And John Hamm a little bit sticks out as well. That's my own personal opinion. But, you see that. And I never watched an episode of Gossip Girl, so some of you can chime in on that. That's the CW. I really don't look for great acting on the CW. No offense to anybody who's on the CW. I'm just saying I don't normally go to the CW to see great acting. Although I do think, I have heard the Superman show is amazing. That Tyler Hoechner and Bitsy were fantastic on that show. So I kind of removed that away from the overall assessment sometimes that I feel about those kinds of shows. So, but I've seen her in other stuff. I didn't see A Simple Favor, but a lot of people liked her in that. But I've seen other movies where I just don't find her believable, or certain things. So having to trick people to cast you to be on the set and then you try to take control, that is a really tough situation. Also because your husband is Ryan Reynolds, who's a very successful multimillionaire in Hollywood, who now has multiple revenue streams and businesses, and certainly controls the narrative and has the love of the people because of his whole I'm just a jokey guy shtick that he does. But behind the scenes, there are quite a few people who've spoken about dealing with him and the difficulty of dealing with him and how much of a control freak he can be. And there certainly are podcasts that are out now, or assessments from people that are out now, that show that they guess that he is the one driving this whole lawsuit. That the rumors are that she might have been having feelings for Justin, or might have been getting close to Justin. Then Ryan found the text messages, and so he's now pushing the narrative. So that's very possible, and I remember I dated a girl once who had broken up with a boyfriend recently. She started dating me, And we were having this was years ago, decades ago. We were having a nice relationship. We were really getting close. And then he wanted to come back because the breakup was still fresh. And she made him he made her break up with me and then, shut things down between us. And it was like a kick in the face because I had been kind of patiently waiting for the moment to open up once he mistreated her one too many times for me to date her and show her that there could be a good relationship that doesn't involve her being mistreated, but their relationship was a very toxic relationship. And I really didn't understand what any of that meant at such a young age. And so it's not impossible that a male partner can have a hold on their female partner so strong that they could push them into a situation like this out of jealousy. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I know some people are opining on that possibility because Ryan is such a control freak and there have been rumors about infidelity. And look, there are a lot of rumors about Ryan and infidelity. Go watch some of those old Alanis Morissette conversations, specifically the one with Howard Stern. And there have been rumors that he was cheating with Blake on Scarlett Johansson. And certainly there was a blind item that came out over the weekend that Scarlett Johansson, who is married to Colin Jost, obviously, made it very clear that she did not want to be around Ryan and Blake. And actually, one of the reports were that she called security on Ryan to keep him away from her because he was mad that she had allegedly called Blake the new Amber Heard. That is what I'd read on a gossip site about that. I don't know if it's true or not, but certainly that's one of the things that was reported. Now, one of the last things I want to say about this situation, we've been talking about for an hour and 15 minutes. I appreciate you guys hanging out, over 300 of you hanging out with me for a majority of this conversation. I think this is the last of it. Yeah, the last of it is I want to bring up Ari Emanuel, and I might be doing this out of danger to myself. But Ari Emanuel, who is the Endeavor CEO, he came out unabashedly recently for Team Blake. He said, I am ride or die, and they're good people. I've known Ryan and Blake for over a decade. He was saying all of this on the Freakonomics radio live show this past Thursday night. He said, I've known Ryan and Blake for over a decade. They're really incredible people in Hollywood. They have been incredibly successful. People work with them. They've never had any bad mojo out there. That's a fucking lie. Or treated people badly. That's also a fucking lie. They are charitable, probably. We help them with their foundation. They've given tons of money away. So he is doing damage control for Blake and Ryan with this conversation. And he is part of WME. I used to be repped by WME for 10 years for voiceovers. I have nothing negative to say about WME in my time there. They're very good with me. But he went on to say more about the situation. He bluntly called what allegedly went down during production of It Ends With Us and the online smear campaign that Lively says Baldoni and Melissa Nathan and their minions subjected her. He says they subjected her to a, quote, a fucked up bad situation. And he's went on to brag. And if you watch this video, he is bragging that he personally dumped Justin Baldoni. He goes, I fired him. And he had a little bit of a smirk on his face when you watch the video. And he proclaimed this very strongly. She felt that she was not being protected, he said. She complained, and then these people tried to go after her. They should stop. They're still trying to do it. They should stop, right? And WME has long insisted that for all their Hollywood heft, Lively and Reynolds put zero pressure on the agency to cut ties with Baldoni. That is bullshit. If what is alleged in a lawsuit, he goes on to say, happened on social media, if what is alleged in a lawsuit that what happened on social media is true, just because she complained to the studio that things were unhealthy on the set and that he was director and this man was the producer and they did to her what is being alleged, they're really bad people. Where else have you heard someone say that? They're really bad people. They're bad people. They're really bad people. We're starting to hear these narratives from people who are up in the upper echelon of wealth and dismissiveness of other people below them. He said, I know Blake, I know Ryan, they're good people. But of course, Ari Emanuel, you have to put this in the context. He is also working with Elon, he was chatting about the $97.37 billion bid to buy OpenAI that he's been working with pal Elon Musk on. Emanuel's remarks about Lively and Reynolds came on the same day that lawyers for his clients at Baldoni dropped some news, and that's what we talked about. So, I mean, Ari Emanuel clearly running a damage control situation here through that podcast. He was very smug if you watch that podcast and how he talked about this kind of stuff. And the fact that he's working with Elon Musk tells me everything I need to know about this person's character, about how they view the world and how they view human beings. If you can make me money, you are valuable. If you can make me the most money, you are more valuable than another person that can make me less money. And certainly that's how he might have seen this situation. And it may be true that neither Justin nor Blake put any pressure on him or WME to fire Baldoni or to let him go. But it's not out of the realm of possibility that Ari looked at the balance statements and went, no, we're going to let Justin go just to make our clients happy, and a proactive move. It would not be out of the realm of possibility that happened. Also, no one's going to put Ari Emanuel under a lie detector test to be like, well, what's the truth? Did Blake and Ryan tell you to do it? He's going to say whatever he wants to do because he's a fucking multimillionaire, possibly a billionaire. So what does he care? And if he's working with people, Elon Musk, they've got money to shut anyone down who would try to pin them down on anything they said or didn't say, or any evidence of them being encouraged to fire Justin Baldoni. So we will see how much of this stuff gets submitted, how much of this comes out in discovery and what have you. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes with all of this. And there are some very strong power players in Hollywood, in business, in the overall existence of humanity in our country who are involved with this and taking sides with this. So it is a crazy time. And a couple of things real quick. Colleen Hoover has now removed all mention. I saw this somewhere. That Colleen Hoover has now removed all mention of Justin Baldoni or Blake Lively from her Instagram and her social media. Maybe one of you all can check that out or correct me if I'm wrong or not. Not the movie. The movie, yes, and the books, yes, but not either Justin or Blake. And from what I understand, she is pulling herself out of supporting Blake in any of this. And even, was it Brandon Scrannell? What's the actor's name who was in the film with them, who is on 1923? Hold on, let me get the name up. I thought I had it in my brain, but I can't have everything in my brain, y'all. I've been talking for an hour and 27. Brandon Sklenar, who Christian wants to be the Batman. Brandon Sklenar was doing an interview for the new season of 1923 on CBS this morning. And Gayle King even asked him about the whole situation. And he was like, I think it's unfortunate because what's getting lost is the reasons why we did the movie. And he said very sweetly, talking about how someone he knows went through the same situation that the person in the movie that Blake Lively plays went through. And that was one of the reasons he did the movie. And the movie gave her the strength to leave a toxic situation for herself. And that's very commendable. But when Gayle King asked him, are you Team Blake or Team Justin, to kind of wrap up the interview, after having first sided with Blake, he now said he is team It Ends With Us. I just support the movie. So you're seeing a lot of people moving away from Blake who were initially very supportive of her. I don't know what Jenny Slate has. I don't know what Isabella Ferrer has. I don't know what their reasons are for doing the things that they're doing here in this situation. But we will find out when this depositions come up, when all this stuff comes out. I think that's going to be interesting to see what gets unearthed, what they claim to have witnessed, how believable their statements are about what they witnessed, and how actionable these statements are about what they witnessed here on the set. So very, very interesting. So that is everything that is going on with this situation. An hour and 23, well, hour and 15, I guess, because we talked about 8 minutes before we started, but an hour and 15 breaking down all the stuff that is going on here in this lawsuit and the update. I hope you guys feel a little bit more informed on what is going on, or connecting the dots a little bit more at all the people who are involved in this, and also kind of see how this is a really toxic, messed up situation. And by the way, just because I sense that Justin Baldoni is telling more of the truth than Blake Lively is or Ryan Reynolds is, it does not mean that I'm out here championing Justin Baldoni as this great person, all right? I'm leaning in that direction simply because I think it's kind of terrible what's going on here. And we have seen in the past how people have accused people of doing certain things and they never did it, or they get railroaded because they are in a less powerful position, they get railroaded by someone more powerful, right? We've seen that happen to women for decades from men in power. And now as women have achieved more and more power over the last few years, couple of decades, we've seen instances where they have lied about certain things. And I think it's okay to call it out. I think you guys know when I run my shows, I'm an equal opportunity caller outer. I called out Harvey Weinstein. If you guys remember all those years past in Collider when I was doing Movie Talk, I loudly called out Bryan Singer over and over again, much to the chagrin of the other employees who work there who tried to get me to not do that when I was a guest or hosted on Movie Talk. I spoke my truth. Maybe one of the reasons I was let go is because I wouldn't play ball and kiss the ass of these directors, producers, and writers in the way that they wanted to at the time. So it's that kind of a situation. You guys know I will go after people, whether they be male, female, and as I did yesterday with Kevin Spacey, part of the LGBTQ plus community. I don't care. I don't want, if I sense that people are being abused in a certain way, I want to highlight it, talk about it, speak about it. And yeah, maybe I get in some trouble. Maybe some people come after me and send me some terrible notes or whatever, but I deal with it or leave comments that are pretty condescending or toxic, but whatever, that's part of the game. It's I'd rather talk about it, highlight it, and hear from you all what you think about it, and give the information out as well. So, all right, so I'm going to take another sip of this. I'm sorry. Yeah, GA is correct. Sorry, GA, you're absolutely right. Women have suffered from men in power for 100,000 years. That's correct, not decades. Well, it's fair, totally fair. I was just speaking about current, present mindset. But yes, hundreds of thousands of years. You're not wrong there. Absolutely true. And certainly we're seeing a new age now with some of the stuff from the Trump administration that are really going to affect women's lives, women's rights over their own body, and how men treat women now, because you've got a serial sexual assaulter in the White House who is hiring other serial sexual assaulters or sexual harassers or rapists to be part of his alleged rapists to be part of his administration. And from what I read yesterday, they are trying to convince Romania to let the Tate brothers go. And there's a long line of horrible behavior from the Tate brothers that has been alleged against them, including trafficking of women. So clearly, this is not a female-friendly administration, no matter what the nutballs, Nancy Mace, MTG, and Lauren Boebert say, who are all about themselves, by the way. They're not about women at all. They're about padding their pockets and making money and being social media influencers for themselves, no matter what they say in public. It's fucking so not true. So yeah. All right, so let's move on. But yes, thank you for correcting him on that, GA. See what I say? I'm never not going to admit when you're trying to correct me and it makes sense to correct me on that situation. All right, so let's see. We've got 8 super chats. If you guys don't mind, I want to hold off on these super chats until we get done through a couple of more of these comments and a couple more of these stories. And if you want to send in your Streamlabs, keep sending in your Streamlabs as well, which I appreciate you guys doing that here. So let's move on to another story, which I think is a fascinating story. And this is one that Jeff dropped on the hot mic yesterday. Not on the hot mic, sorry, on his newsletter, which you guys can subscribe to at theinsnyder.com. He made a comment about something that might be happening, or he published a rumor about something that might be happening here in the world of entertainment. And it kind of shocks me on so many levels to see that this is a possibility, because I did not expect this story at all. And he told me about it before he published it, but I got to highlight it here. Now, Jeff's going to have more to say about it on the hot mic tomorrow. And by the way, a programming change for tomorrow, because Jeff is on the East Coast. We will be doing the hot mic at 12 p.m. PT tomorrow. So change that on your schedules. I'm going to tweet this out after I'm done with the show. Put that on your schedules. We will be going at 12 p.m. PT tomorrow on the hot mic. We will not do 4 p.m. PT because Jeff is on the East Coast and cannot do the show that late in the day. So I just want to make sure you guys understand that before we go forward and put it in your notes as such. So let me bring this up because I thought this was a phenomenal story that Jeff Snyder broke here. This is a rumor he pointed, but Andrew Garfield and Jude Law apparently are in talks to star in Apple's limited series about Las Vegas magicians Siegfried and Roy. This is what Jeff Snyder has exclusively learned. He is not sure who is playing who in this situation, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that is Siegfried the guy with the blonde hair? I think Siegfried is the guy with the blonde hair. It seems like he would be the guy that Jude Law would play. Let me see. Where is it? Do they have? Yes. Siegfried is the guy with the blonde hair, right? Is that correct? I want to make sure that's correct. So if you guys want to correct me, you can. And I think Jude Law would play Roy, the guy with the black hair there. So that seems to be more where I think this is going. I wonder if you guys agree with me. I love this. Who's playing the tiger? Great point, Scott Walsh. Great point. I don't know who's playing the tiger. I would like to know. But yeah, so thank you, Ewok. I appreciate you saying that that's true. So it seems to me like Jude Law would actually play the guy with the mullet of blonde hair at the top there, which I think is Siegfried, and that Andrew Garfield would play Roy there at the bottom. And this brings to mind Michael Douglas and Matt Damon in that Behind the Candelabra Liberace TV movie that was done on HBO. If you guys haven't seen that movie, that is such a good movie. That is such a good movie. Matt Damon is excellent in that film. Michael Douglas is excellent as Liberace, and they don't shy away from any of the gay sex or gay relationships that they're in that whole movie. It is a fantastic film, a bold, gutsy film that I was really surprised how much I enjoyed that. So it's going to be really interesting here. This is based on a podcast, I believe. Yeah, let's see. Let me read some more about this. The series, which has been in development at Apple since October of 2022, so they've been working on this for a while, hails from Only Murders in the Building co-creator John Hoffman and Imagine Television. So you've got John Hoffman, who was one of the co-creators of Only Murders in the Building, and you've got Imagine Television, which is Ron Howard and Brian Grazer. So that's a lot of talent behind something like this. Hoffman will serve as the writer/EP on the series, and it is based on the Apple original podcast, Wild Things, Siegfried and Roy, from At Will Media. So I will immediately be listening to this podcast very soon, probably over the weekend. I had no idea this was a podcast because I've always been fascinated by Siegfried and Roy, always been fascinated by these Vegas acts and how they survive and stay alive and how they grab the public's attention. So that is a very curious situation. A little bit more about the show. It is being told from multiple perspectives. The hour-long series will follow German-American showman Siegfried Fischbacher and Roy Horn, who often performed alongside white lions and tigers until tragedy struck their last fateful Las Vegas show in 2003, when Horn was mauled by a white tiger named Montecore during his act at the Mirage, an attack that left him badly injured. He went on to sadly pass away in May of 2020 from complications due to COVID, and Fischbacher died just a few months later in January of 2021. So very sad that they both died within months of each other. Considering they were so attached to each other for so long. And it's going to be interesting for Jude Law to take this role. I kind of like this role for him. I like that Jude is getting some interesting work over the last few years. I really loved him in Skeleton Crew. I haven't watched The Order yet, but everyone says he's fantastic in The Order. Yeah, those Fantastic Beasts films didn't do quite so well, but he was damn good in those films. And he's about to play Vladimir Putin in this new drama from director Olivier Assayas, The Wizard of the Kremlin, which is chronicling Putin's rise to power in post-Soviet Russia, with Alicia Vikander, Paul Dano, and Jeffrey Wright in the cast. Jeffrey Wright is doing great work as well right now. And of course, he's going to be seen soon in Eden, which is still seeking distribution. That's with Vanessa Kirby, Sydney Sweeney, and Anna de Armas. And he'll be in the Black Rabbit series on Netflix with Jason Bateman. And we all know what Andrew Garfield's been working on and doing. So fascinating situation there for those two. So do you guys like this idea? I think this is an awesome idea for me personally. I want to see, is it going to be told? I mean, will we get, like I said, it's being told from multiple perspectives. So will we see the perspective of the tiger? Will we see someone play the tiger? That could be super interesting as a way to play this all out. I think that could be very fascinating to see what we're going to get in that series when it comes out. So I love that idea. I love the possibility of that. So yeah, we'll see when it comes out what we're going to get when it drops. Because Baz Luhrmann directing it would be a lot of fun as well. I kind of like that idea as a possibility too. So that is cool on so many levels. So we'll see. All right, let's move on to another situation here. So for those of you who don't know, The Last of Us Season 2, they released the release date for this one. Let me see if I've got a picture for this one that I can put up for you guys as we talk about this. HBO has finally announced the official premiere date for the second season of The Last of Us. As you see there, the acclaimed survival horror video game adaptation is set to return to our screens sooner than expected. For those of you who didn't see this news, Season 2 will debut on April 13th at 9 p.m. PT, 6 p.m. ET. 9 p.m. ET, 9 p.m. PT, taking the Sunday marquee time slot from the current third season of The White Lotus. Max has also released new character posters for this situation. Let me see if I can find... Yeah, this is interesting. Let me bring these up for you guys to take a look at, these character posters. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. That's kind of cool. Let's see if we can go a little, zoom in a little bit. Yeah, I kind of like these. These are pretty cool posters, right? Can we go a little? Yeah, I guess. Oh, there we go. All right, let me get that out of there. Interesting. So they're walking across a guitar, right? Or she is. How do we go? Oh, I guess I got to pull back out. Zoom out. All right. So, all right. Are they going to show these? Hold on. So it's just at the top here. That's terrible. So you can't even click on them. That makes no sense. I mean, literally no sense. So let me find another post of these because I want to look at these posters. HBO reveals. Yeah, here we go. All right. So can you guys see that? Yes. Okay, fine. So this is the posters that you see. Oh, no, you can't. All right. Let me share this way on Twitter. There we go. All right. So that's the post there. You see Joel there. What is that 12 underneath him? Is that a clock? Oh, so that's a watch. It's cracked. And that looks like a band that he's walking across there. So some of you may know what that reveal means. I do not, because I have not played the game, nor have I watched the cutscenes for the second game. And then the other one here, you see she has the guitar. So that was something that was highlighted in the last season. And so clearly that's something to be a little bit more that she's going to dive into. And then this other one, this is the Caitlin Deaver one. So that symbol, I'm sure, means something to those of you who have played the game. That's clearly a necklace, as you can see from out there, and an amulet of some sort around her neck, the holster, the gun, the overall look. And I know a lot of people are kind of worried about how Caitlin Deaver is going to do in this role because they love the original game so much. But there you go. April 13th, that's not that far away. April 13th is not that far away. So I am really curious to see when we're going to get another trailer for this and when what more of the story we're going to get in that trailer for those of us who are not players of the game. What more are we going to see here? So I'm very, very curious to see when that gets revealed to us overall here on the show and on other shows when that goes down. All right, the next thing I want to talk about here, and please let me know your thoughts. Do you like the posters? Do you like that it's April 13th? And are some of you coming around on the Caitlin Deaver situation, or are some of you still not 100% on board with her playing Abby? Let me know down in the comments. And also people who are watching this later, let me know down in the comments what your thoughts on that are as well. I'd love to hear what you all think. Here's a curious one that must have perked Christian's ears up. Jerry Bruckheimer. There's a movie project here reuniting Jerry Bruckheimer with Top Gun Maverick director Joseph Kosinski. Now, I talked to you guys yesterday about the Steven Spielberg UFO movie. That has now been moved to June 12th. It was going to come out in May 12th, in between, I think, Mandalorian Grogu and Avengers Doomsday of 2026. Now it's been moved to June 12th. But here's another UFO movie. This, as I said, reuniting Jerry Bruckheimer with Top Gun Maverick director Joseph Kosinski. And a lot of people are apparently vying for this package. It also includes scribe Zach Balan, the writer whose credits include Will Smith's King Richard, which was a damn good film, Creed 3, which I enjoyed until the final act, and The Order, which is the one that I'm waiting to see here with Jude Law. Amazon, Apple, Lionsgate, Paramount, and Warner Brothers are among the studios in on the action, with sources saying the bidding is escalating, quote, quickly and aggressively. Little is known about the piece, which is described as All the President's Men with UFOs. The budget range is unclear, but it is seeking a green light per one source. No stars are presently attached. Part of the appeal is the veneer of authenticity of the pitch. Former United States Air Force officer and erstwhile UFO whistleblower David Grush is said to be acting as a consultant on the project. Grush made headlines in 2023 when he testified before Congress that the government has been studying the spacecraft and bodies of aliens, all the while suppressing leaks. So this is an interesting situation. Christian was hoping that Disclosure, the Steven Spielberg film, would be the film that possibly talked about what's really going on behind the scenes. But this seems to be the film that's actually going to talk about what's going on behind the scenes here with these testimonies from David Grush and others who have claimed that the United States is hiding evidence about UFOs, hiding evidence about aliens and what have you. So this is, and the pairing of Jerry Bruckheimer and Kosinski, I think, is a very smart move overall. That'll get people even more excited. And when you bring in a up-and-coming writer who is definitely getting a lot of respect in the business, and Zach Balan for the work he's doing as a writer, I think that even adds even more credibility to a film like this. This isn't going to be one of those fly-by-night Lionsgate type of films that talks about UFO and 10 people see it. This feels like it's going to be a much bigger expose of what has gone on behind the scenes. I'm sure there are going to be people claiming that there are lies here. I'm sure there are people going to have their eyes open. So this, I think, is the one that could be very fascinating to see how this all plays out in the long run. And don't forget that Kosinski's next film is F1. If you guys haven't seen this recently, they dropped a 3-minute behind-the-scenes video that is up on YouTube that has more footage of this F1 stuff from inside the vehicle, and I think it's pretty awesome overall. So I'm a big fan of what we're going to get. I hope we get a good movie, because I think Brad Pitt, I think Kosinski could use another good movie, but certainly Brad Pitt could use a damn good movie overall as well. He did also directed Only the Brave, which I thought was good. The fighter movie with Miles Teller, I think, and Josh Brolin. Oblivion, the Tom Cruise film, I like that one. Didn't 100% work, that Oblivion, but I like that one. And Tron Legacy, that was an interesting experiment, but you could tell that this was a visionary filmmaker who was getting his feet under him in a tough situation. So, we'll see what the end result of who buys that movie and what they do with it when it gets announced here, probably very soon. I mean, because these are some big wigs that are fighting for this one with Amazon, Apple, Lionsgate, Paramount, Warner Brothers. I mean, I would imagine Apple has the inside track because Apple just did the F1 situation with him. So I would not be surprised if that's who ends up winning the bidding war in all of this. But you never know with Amazon. Amazon's certainly trying to reach out a little bit more, certainly trying to make things happen on their end. And get a little more respectability in the business. So I would not be surprised if they make a run for this as well. And we'll see if that is how it plays out overall. Let's see here. All right, what else do we want to talk about? Oh, I think it's time. Is it time? Yeah, I think it might be time for us to dive into this. Let me see if I've got enough pictures here, because I want to make sure we have the right pictures for this situation here. Talk amongst yourselves for a second. Let me make sure I've got enough photos of this stuff, because I want to give credibility and I want to give some love to the people involved in this, because I want to get into my review here of Reacher Season 3. So some of these photos have come through, some of these other ones haven't. So give me a second. I produce this stuff by myself, y'all. I don't always have people who can help me do it. So I do the best I can in these situations. I wish I had a video I could play for like 30 seconds while I got these images up, but I want to make sure we have all the images so you guys can follow along as I talk about their performances and their work in the show and give them proper credit for the work they do on the show. Because I'll tell you, just to start off this review, I finished all 10 episodes rather of Reacher Season 3. I was sent them a few weeks ago. The social media embargo went up yesterday. But the review embargo was up this morning. I unfortunately didn't have time to make a review myself. So this is essentially standing in for my review of the show. And I want to make sure that I give you the full 411 with everybody involved in this one, because I want to respect all the actors. All right, this is the last picture. Once I load them, we'll be good to go into this situation here and have this conversation. So this is a non-spoiler. I will not spoil anything about the show, but I will talk about the people involved in the show for this season. So let's get into it here. Reacher. All right, Reacher Season 3. Let me bring it up on IMDb so I'm giving proper credit to everybody here. All right, Reacher Season 3. All right, so the show here. All right, so there we go. All right, everything's up. All right, so let's do this. All right, Reacher Season 3. As I said, got the first 10 episodes. Watched them last week with the Lady Outlaw. She's a big fan of Reacher as well. This one basically follows Reacher after the events of Season 2. He is left behind the 110, and he's back to being a bit of a lone wolf here. The book, this is based on the 7th book in the series called Persuader. And having talked to my friend Mike Kalinowski, who is a big reader of the Lee Child's books, he was not sure about how they were going to adapt this book, because according to him, it's a book that's not that well received amongst the fans of the Lee Child's Reacher series. And it doesn't mean that it's not a good book. It's just that it doesn't hold up as strongly compared to the other installments. So Kalinowski was curious to see how this one was going to play out. Reacher basically works with some new allies, goes undercover to find an old enemy that he thought he had killed, but who is still alive. And with these new allies, he tries to find them while also helping these new allies find someone who has been taken by this old enemy, and was a drug addict, and these new allies are trying to save this person from his old enemy. So that's a basic general plot of what's happening here over these 10 episodes. We go back and forth in time. There are some flashback scenes. It's not throughout the whole show, but certainly there's some flashback scenes in the show here where we go back to Reacher's past, which we touched on last season with the 110. And I got to say to you, as an overall assessment, this is my favorite season of Reacher. This has been my favorite season of Reacher. If you haven't seen Reacher, this is a season to jump in and enjoy Reacher. You just need to know that he's a guy who used to be a military inspector. He's huge. He can fight his way out of situations. He's a lone wolf, and he fights for what's right. And certainly you see that throughout the show. And another thing to know is that don't think this is a red state show. I can see some people who are liberals and progressives see a big white dude with a slight Southern accent beating up on people in a small town, and you think to yourself, oh, this is kind of a red state. It's not. Reacher is very much a blue state guy in a red state style show. And that's what I love about Reacher. I mean, I think I think Alan Ritchson does an incredible job with this character and with this role, brings it to life, and gives him so much empathy and vulnerability. And I think this season, even more than any other seasons, you see Reacher's anger and rage, his ability to access his muscles, his genius and intellect and ability to think on his feet, and also his softer side and his more vulnerable side, his more empathetic side comes throughout the show. And I think what Alan Ritchson has done here with his interpretation of Reacher is something he should be very proud of with what he's able to create here with that character. The people I want to highlight in this season, I want to talk about Sarai Duffy, who plays Sonia Cassidy. She is a welcome addition to the show. I thought last season, the brunette, I can't remember the actress's name, who played the character that Reacher had a connection with and what have you, I didn't think she was as strong as the blonde actress from the first season that Reacher has a connection with. So I was very happy to see that Sarai Duffy did a fantastic job with bringing Sonia Cassidy to life. She's very much her own person, very much a strong-willed woman. She is determined to find a person who is being held by this overall enemy or antagonist in the show. And she helps Reacher, but she also pushes Reacher when Reacher wants to kind of cross lines or wants to go past certain situations. She pulls him back. She forces him to take a look at stuff. And so there's a great back and forth between these two. They have fantastic chemistry. She is a British actress, and she's been in things like The Man Who Fell to Earth, which was on Showtime, I believe, The Last Kingdom, Humans, Vera, Lodge 49, and other projects. But she is fantastic in the show, and she's one of the main reasons to enjoy this season. Her chemistry with Alan Ritchson, it's very, very strong. We do get Maria Stanback into the show here. She is really good. She is a recurring character throughout the show, played by Frances Neagley. She is a recurring character in the show. She isn't in the show as much as she was last season, but when she shows up, she's a strong energy in the show, strong character, and a critical part of this season overall. What's interesting is she's not a part of the book this is based on. She is not a part of Persuader, so she is essentially being added into the overall story here to make it work, and she does a great job with that. My man Olivier Richters, who plays Paulie, he is massive, this dude. He is so big, and he is so great in the show here, playing Paulie. He is such a great foil for Reacher. He is bigger than Reacher, more muscular than Reacher, stronger than Reacher, and he is this mountain that Reacher will eventually have to climb in the season in order to achieve the things he wants to achieve. So he is a huge part of the season and a welcome part of the season. And I thought Olivier Richters did a great job in the role that he was asked to do in the show. And when they go at it in the show, I'm not going to spoil when it happens, but when they go at it, it is unexpected and it is insane. And they go at it multiple times. And but when the huge time they go at it, it is a brutal knockdown, drag out, crazy fight sequence between these two guys that I thoroughly enjoyed watching. Anthony Michael Hall is here as one of the antagonists in the show as well. I liked him as Zachary Beck. I'm not always the biggest fan of Anthony when he does these kinds of roles because Anthony can slide into a little bit of caricature. But I think the writing on this show did an incredible job of bringing out what Anthony can bring as an actor, the empathy, the strength he can deliver as an actor. Scott Sullivan being one of the writers for this season, and Kate Duffy being a executive story editor. Nora Jobling, Lillian L. Wang are story editors and staff writers. So they do a nice job of bringing Anthony Michael Hall's character to life here, as well as his performance. And his son, who is in this as well. That is Richard Beck, played by Johnny Berchtold. That is also a fantastic relationship, the father and son, and how it changes throughout this. And I also want to give some love. I don't have a picture of him right now, but Roberto Montesinos, who plays Guillermo Villanueva, he is a great discovery in the show. He works with Sarai Duffy. They're partners, they're feds who are partners in this situation, and they have a great connection together. And he is so good in throughout the season. Guillermo does in bringing the character to life, and his back and forth with Reacher is very fun. And Reacher gives him crap about his weight, And Guillermo is certainly overwhelmed by Reacher's quick ability to kill. And that is a running kind of subtle battle between the guys throughout the season. And it makes him a very interesting character. And his chemistry with Roberto's chemistry with Saray Duffy with Sonia Cassidy is really good throughout this show. So I was really surprised by that and what he was able to bring. So just to clarify, Sonia Cassidy is the actress who plays Sarah Duffy, or Susan Duffy rather, and Roberto plays Guillermo, and they're really good in the show as well. But the overall story works for me. This is the best season of Reacher. It really takes you on this strong emotional journey of him confronting stuff from the past and what this villain did to someone he knew in the past, and what happens with that. So that's all the motivation. And Reacher has to confront where his lines are. And I think that's a fascinating new take on Reacher as well that we haven't seen in previous seasons. Because the last 2 seasons, Reacher is pretty much like almost untouchable. Like every move he makes is the smart move. Everyone else is in service to him. Everyone else kind of helps him achieve these goals. This is the season where you kind of see some people putting up walls or putting up barriers, and Reacher actually pulling back. Reacher actually stopping for a second to consider their point of view. And I think that's an awesome change for this season. So this is a season that really requires more from Alan Ritchson as an actor throughout, and he steps up to the plate. And the story itself takes some nice twists and turns, if you haven't read the book, that surprise you. And yes, there are the standard unbelievable moments where you're like, well, why didn't this person do that? And that's just standard in all the Reacher seasons, but they're not in any way taking away from the overall effect of the show. So I highly recommend this season. You guys are going to love it. The writing is good. The acting is good. The action sequences are fantastic. The comedic moments work really well to kind of alleviate some of the tension, but the stakes here are pretty high, and the brutality is pretty high when it happens. And there are some very hard-ass moments, along with some really interesting moments with the characters and the changes that they go through and the arcs that they have throughout the season. So highly recommend you all catching season 3 of Reacher that is out on Prime Video. And if you haven't watched Reacher, that's been one of my favorite shows over the last few years. I highly recommend it for you all. So, all right, we're at the 2-hour mark. So I should probably start to read these Streamlabs and Superchats. So let's bring it on here. Let's hit the first one, and that is Ewok. He said, Lively's lawsuit is hearsay without evidence. On page 3, she literally claims she has proof, but is choosing not to release it. Translation, she doesn't want to go to trial and is desperate to settle. I agree with you, Ewok. Certainly Brian Friedman called that out in his statement, saying that this is a lot of promising evidence with no evidence in it. They're trying to bully them a little bit. They're trying to claim that they have, oh, do you really want me to release this? Let's just settle or go away. But clearly they have a lot of money on the Justin Baldoni side to support the lawsuit that they've got. So this is a lot of posturing, a lot of trying to win in the court of public opinion. But I don't think it's really going to amount to much unless these are some really damning accounts or damning bits of evidence from Jenny Slate, Isabella Ferrer. I can't imagine there's going to be a big movement by Justin and Brian Friedman to settle this thing or try to put it away anytime soon. Good points there, Ewok. I am Too Fly Cam. What's up, dude? Sup, Rocha? Is the Winston show on hiatus just due to misaligned schedules? Thoughts on Craig dropping out of Sergeant Rock? What's your dream DC project? I know Winston's been busy with the move. That's kind of what he's been on. And to be honest with you, Winston's really focused on building his channel. And I think it was fun to do Spill the Tequila for as long as we got to do it. But I think Winston is much more focused on his channel. He's never reached out to me over the last few weeks and been like, hey, man, let's do a Spill the Tequila show. I want to talk about this or that. He hasn't done it. When we've tried to align schedules, it hasn't always been easy because the man's got to work. He's got multiple jobs. He's got to, pay for the things that he wants to survive doing. He wants to build up his channel. So unfortunately, we're not able to do the show as consistently as we did in the past. Doesn't mean we won't still do an occasional special Spill the Tequila. Certainly he's been doing some more Blurs in the Hood with Jay. So we will see overall how that ends up working out. Let me look at this up. I don't know. Did Daniel Craig really drop out, or is this just rumors. Let me see. Real quick, as we said, this is kind of like the breaking news section of the show. Oh, here it is, Hollywood Reporter. All right, let's bring it up. Let's bring it up and read it together here because I don't know anything about it. Daniel Craig. Here we go. Daniel Craig is no. Oh my God! Please stop. No ads, for God's sakes. Let me see. Am I in the right? Yeah. Here, let me bring this up and make it a little bit bigger. Bing, bing, bing. Oh, no, that's the last. Here we go. All right. So zoom in. As I say, it's just me, guys. I don't have a producer on the show. I'm the producer. All right. Daniel Craig's DC Comics debut will have to wait. The actor is and this is brought to you by Boris Kitt, right? Yeah, Boris Kitt breaking this. The actor is no longer attached to star in Sergeant Rock, the DC Studios feature project that would have reunited him with his queer director, Luca Guadagnino. The feature has a script from screenwriter Jason Kuritzkis, who penned Guadagnino's Challengers in Queer. Created by Robert Kenner, Sergeant Rock is a world. Blah, 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 blah. We know all that. Hollywood has long tried to bring him to the screen. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Reasons for Craig's departure remain unclear. Some said the actor's schedule ran into roadblocks with that of his wife, actress Rachel Weisz. Other sources said that the actor soured on the role after Queer failed to perform not only at the box office, but also in the awards season race. DC is hoping to shoot the feature this summer in its UK hub and is already out to other actors. One name making the rounds is Jeremy Allen White. I don't know how you go from Daniel Craig to Jeremy Allen White. That seems like a completely different approach to the situation. Yeah, it seems to me like that's the second reason may seem to be the truth, that Daniel Craig was disillusioned by the fact that Queer did nothing, and he surrendered himself to that film and probably explored some really deep parts of himself and tough parts of himself in that movie, and the movie made bupkis, and the movie made almost no noise in the awards section, and neither did the Challengers, by the way. So maybe Daniel felt like, look, I don't really want to put myself through this experience again, especially if it's not going to lead to anything, and it might not even be that well received in terms of box office or whatever. So I'm not surprised that he walked away from it and doesn't want to do it anymore. I wonder if Alan Ritchson is a possibility. Now, that's an interesting Sergeant Rock, don't you think? That could be an interesting guy. That would put some, speaking of Reacher, that would put some butts in seats and certainly generate interest for it. So those are my thoughts on it all. I thought it was an odd pairing anyway. Luca with Sergeant Rock and Daniel Craig seemed like a very odd pairing overall. But we'll see now. Luca moving on to see what he's going to do. Sorry. Oh, sorry. What's your dream DC project? Kingdom Come. That's always been my dream DC project. Kingdom Come live action. Or even Identity Crisis live action, or what is it? Rebirth? Whichever the Green Lantern one, live action, that would be awesome as well. So those are some of my dream ones, but definitely Kingdom Come's number one. That is just number one. Wiley Todd says, Rocha, so glad you have started to do these streams. They are incredible and unique. Thanks, man. Still want to help out when you get a chance to talk. Yes, Wiley. Yes, Wiley. Yes. Friday, Wiley. Let's do something Friday. Honestly, Thursday, tomorrow is stacked with Hot Mic and other stuff going on, Geek Buddies and what have you. But yes, definitely. Let's talk on Friday, dude. I'd love to do that. Thank you, Wiley. You're the best. And thanks for the kind contribution, brother. Crystal. Hey, Crystal. Good to see you back. Crystal DW fan says, until I see, wait, let me make this bigger. Sometimes I make things smaller. Until I see evidence of Justin's wrongdoing, I don't believe it. Blake is in SAG. I think could have made her complaints to HR and have production shut down on the movie. That's an excellent point, Crystal. She claims that she went to this HR representative at Sony to tell them what was going on. She could have absolutely gone to SAG and settled this thing, and she didn't. So that is a very good point that you're making there, Crystal. Maybe she could probably counter and say, well, I didn't want these people to lose their jobs. I didn't want this production to go into hiatus and all these people have to find new jobs and maybe we lose them on the crew. I didn't want to do all of that. So that's a possibility, but people have insurance for that. Studios and producers and businesses have insurance for that kind of stuff. So maybe. I wait to see all evidence. I remember the Roxanne palette situation. Oh, I don't know what that is. What is the Roxanne palette situation? Do I not know what that is? A Roxanne palette controversy? What is that? Big Brother controversy. Oh, Roxanne Pallett became embroiled in controversy after falsely accusing fellow housemate Ryan Thomas of punching her on the 2018 season of Celebrity Big Brother. She had initially refused to sleep with Thomas and told others she was afraid he would hurt her. Security footage proved that Thomas did not assault Pallett. Pallett later apologized on air and admitting that she made a, quote, terrible mistake. She received over 25,000 complaints from viewers to Ofcom, the broadcasting watchdog. Celebrity Big Brother became the most complained about TV show of 2018. What was the aftermath? Pallett retreated from the spotlight and underwent therapy for PTSD panic disorder. Pallett left the UK to travel to the US for years. She married a firefighter, Jason Carey, in New York in January of 2020. Then she was pregnant with her first child in 2021 and later gave birth to a son. I don't know much beyond that there. So interesting. I didn't know that story. I don't watch Big Brother. But certainly people, yeah, I mean, I'm saying, you know, this is a new age now. This is a new dawn. And certainly Me Too woke up people to things that have been happening to women for, as I think as AD said, 100,000 years, of course. Yes, certainly. For centuries. But by the same token, we do see that there are people making false claims. And if they do make false claims, they deserve to be called out. They deserve to be ridiculed. And they deserve to get raked over the coals. Because regardless of gender or sexual identity, it's important to be honest and truthful in situations. And so if that's happening, it's got to be called out. So I respect that. Wiley Todd says, Rocha, so glad you have started to do these streams. They're incredibly unique. I think you already said that, Wiley, but thank you for sending in another super chat to support me in that way. Thank you so much. Tim Sim says, so given how toxic this fallout between Lively and Baldoni is becoming, is settlement still possible? And if so, would there still be lingering damages we don't know about yet? I think they're going to run out the clock on all of this, Tim. That's what I think. I think initially they were going to settle, but the fact that they keep amending their lawsuits to add more people to their lawsuits, and the most recent one with Wallace, this guy out of, I think, Austin, who they are claiming ran an entire campaign, kind of like a fixer, kind of like a Ray Donovan type fixer, who ran this campaign allegedly to bury Blake Lively. And they claim that they sued him in Dallas, I think it was, in order to get him to come out and respond to the lawsuit. And once he did, they took away the lawsuit in Dallas and then added him to the overall lawsuit. So there's a lot happening here where lawsuits are being amended on both sides, which leads me to believe there's no settlement here that seems on the horizon. I think what we're looking at here is very clearly two people who are growing into a massive dislike of each other. And both of them are using their financial resources and their support in their respective communities to battle. And look, it's not lost on me that the Baldoni side of things is clearly courting the right and MAGA and Trump supporters, because Brian Freeman's going on Megyn Kelly's podcast. But it's interesting to have Emanuel, who is apparently Elon Musk's boy, defending Blake Lively and Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds on one side, because you would imagine he would be on the other side with the rest of the Trump people. So it's not lost on me. I'm not trying to align myself with those people at all. I'm just giving my honest opinion on this situation, and I'm intrigued by it, which is why I've been doing videos on it. So yeah, I mean, I don't see a settlement possible. And I think they're going to run this all the way through the year. Unless something really big happens one way or the other, I don't think they're going to settle. And by the big thing, I mean, like Ryan saying to Blake, enough is enough. This is causing us too much damage. If they release movies, either of them release movies in the next few months, I know that Simple Favor 2 is coming out, but I think that's coming out streaming. If either one of them release movies in the next few months and they don't do well, then at that point, it becomes a situation where, look, we need to kind of settle this thing once and for all, be done with it, because this is getting out of control. And with Justin Baldoni, if he is in a situation where he's not being able to book any work or being able to survive and pay his bills and pay his rent or whatever, then I think that's when you're going to see some settlement. But clearly, both of them have money on their side, so this doesn't seem like it's going to be ending anytime soon. Michael Baldwin, what's up, Michael? Good to see you. He says, I thought the WME guy came out because he knew Ryan and Blake would be at SNL and he wanted to tell people it's okay to be around them. Yeah, he might have done that. But clearly it seems from reports from people who were there behind the scenes, it did not work, because the reports are saying that people did not want to be around them. The reports saying that Scarlett Johansson possibly got security to get Ryan Reynolds away from her. So that's the situation there. It's unfortunate with everything that's happening, but you kind of, this is the bed you made, you got to lie in it sometimes. And look, she, again, as I maybe reiterate this one more time, she may be telling 100% the truth. And if she is, you hope she wins out. Justin is fairly punished, and Steve and everybody involved here, Brian, everyone gets their just desserts for having been a part of the situation. But if what I suspect is true is that she was making a power move here, concocted this accusation for whatever reasons behind the scenes, then she also gets to be punished, raked over the coals, and called out for it, because she's a very powerful woman and she's not a wallflower. And to use her 2 dragons plus her money and her status to come after a guy who is a small guy in terms of status compared to hers, that's a bullying situation. And that should not be what happened here. And Emanuel can say what he wants, but people are very protective of their brands, very protective of their own status. And if they don't think there's any logic in being around her, they won't be around her or Ryan. Tim Sims says, all I can say about The Last of Us 2 as someone who played it is that the story, other than being one of the most divisive stories of video games, gets dark, really dark. Ooh. Well, I'm glad it's on Max instead of Disney Plus, because Disney does not like dark too much. They like a little dark, like a shade, but they don't like a full-on dark. And HBO does. And so I'm glad it's on HBO. And we'll get to watch it. April 13th, man. That is like literally 2 months. That's under 2 months away. And we're almost done with February. What are we, 9 days away from the end of February? So we'll be into March very soon. So we will see. We will see. I'm Two Fly Cam says, did you see Alan Taryn and Matt Gaetz? LOL. Yes, I did. I was actually going to bring that up. Thanks for reminding me, dude. I was actually going to bring that up because he talked about him and I loved it. This was so funny. What he said about him. And that's what I love about Alan Ritchson. Alan Ritchson is a deceptive red state guy with a blue state heart. He looks like he'd be a red state guy, but he actually has a blue state heart. And he's religious. He very much believes in God. But he's also someone who calls out people who are utter turds. And certainly Matt Gaetz is an utter turd. And that's what he did here in calling him out. Let's see here. Reacher says, people have this weird relation with fictional characters and sort of equate. He's talking to GQ magazine. The action star said that some Christians have a hard time separating him from his characters and their actions on screen. He said, people have this weird relation with fictional characters and sort of equate that to the real human being. I don't have that problem making that distinction. I get criticized a lot by Christians who are like, how dare you have an unmarried sex scene on TV and then talk about Jesus? Oh, my God. Oh. Come on, y'all. I'm sorry. I doubt that's going to be part of the conversation when I'm standing at the pearly gates. Yeah, 100%. He's right. Richard explained his faith in the CHR cover story last year, saying that he is, quote, a Christian quite simply because of what Jesus calls us to do. As a fellow Christian who is also a liberal, who also is not all hung up on being prudish about sex, I absolutely respect Alan's point of view. Richard also noted that at the time that his religion had become, quote, the most vitriolic tribe, so antithetical to what Jesus was calling us to be and do. He said, this is his direct quote from Alan Ritchson, Trump is a rapist and a con man, and yet the entire Christian church seems to treat him like he's their poster child, and it's unreal. I don't understand it. Alan Ritchson also called out the, quote, atrocities that are happening in the church that are being actively covered up, even to this day, with people not being held accountable. And he called such actions, quote, repulsive. He said, I can't for 1 second support the Catholic Church while there are still cardinals, bishops, and priests being passed around with known pedophilic tendencies. Right. He's not about just talking about, stopping pedophilia or what these MAGA nutballs do, calling other people pedophiliacs while protecting the church and protecting actual pedophiliacs. He is not that person. And that's what makes him great, honestly, in my opinion. And now he spoke about his former classmate, Matt Gaetz, because they attended school together after the actor's family moved from Illinois to Niceville, Florida. This this is what he said about, I'm even going to bring it up so you all can read it with me. Let me take time. I have 2 fly cams thing down. I want you all to read this with me because these are actual quotes. I don't want to be misquoting Alan Ritchson here. This is what he said. Here, let me zoom in a little bit here. He says, this is what he said about Matt Gaetz. I'm bringing up so you guys can see it here. He spoke out against Matt Gaetz, his former classmate there. He said, that motherfucker, we are adversaries. It's shocking to me that the panhandle of Florida continues to vote for somebody, knowing everything we know about him and the promises that he's made behind closed doors about pardoning certain criminals. He's just not a good dude. There's part of me that wants to get into politics to outdo somebody like him for good. And there's part of me that's like, I'm not duplicitous enough to succeed in politics. There are certain people that do a good job of staying true to who they are, but they're ineffective. I think Bernie Sanders is a hero, but it's like, what has he accomplished? So those were his comments. So he certainly called out Matt Gaetz, which I think is pretty damn awesome of Reacher to do, of Alan Ritchson rather to do. Oh boy. Okay. I can tell that we're coming close to the end of my voice here. So let's see. Adit Mahmood says better action star, Alan Ritchson or Jason Statham. Well, right now you have to say Jason Statham because of the years long of projects that he has had and the great work he has done. We have yet to see an Alan Ritchson led action movie make a lot of money. Right? I mean, you can't count Fast and Furious. He was part of an ensemble there. So we need to see more evidence of Alan Ritchson. So I will say this. How about this, Adit? Alan Ritchson is the better TV action star because we've seen him be that in Reacher. And Jason Statham has done almost no TV. And Jason Statham is the better action movie star because he's done more movies where he's led the movie that is an action movie and it's been successful and made a lot of money, where Alan Ritchson has not. So that's how I would answer that question politically. I'm Too Like Him also said, Alan is definitely a real one, as the kids say. I was born Christian and can't stand the hypocrisy. Cast this man as Darkseid or something else huge. Yeah, a lot of people want him as Batman. I see that. I don't personally see that. Maybe a Batman, Brave and the Bold Batman, that could be interesting, where it's a little more fantastical in its look and appearance. I mean, if he gets a little bit older, a Dark Knight Returns with Alan Ritchson as Bruce Wayne / Batman with that chiseled jaw, those chiseled features, I think that would be awesome. Absolutely awesome to see. So I think that's a possibility. Now, I myself was raised Catholic / Christian myself. And the hypocrisy drives me insane from the right. And they try to fabricate narratives that the left does all this kind of stuff when it's a lot of the right. I mean, if they were consistent in calling out the people who did this kind of stuff, I would understand. But every time anyone on the left does anything, it's hang them for, set them on fire and punish them forever. Anyone on the right does something, well, nobody's perfect. And that's where the hypocrisy lies. That is so frustrating for me personally. All right, let's see if we've got some super chats or Streamlabs rather that have come through here. Oh, Fredtastic says, thank you, Fred. Says, hey, John, the lively Baldoni situation is giving me massive high school bickering flashbacks. Now I'm just waiting for the drama to pass. I hope this Arctic blast doesn't affect Captain America's box office over the weekend too much. I'm going to see it a third time. That's great. That's awesome. I love it. Yes, that's a great situation. Go and see it. Have a good time with it. I hope the Arctic blast doesn't affect it either. But people will come, like I said, there's nothing really to compete with it for a few weeks. So hopefully people will come and see it. If they can't see it this weekend because of the snow, they'll go once it thaws out and they'll go and have a good time in the movie theater. So we will see on that end. Jonathan Charles says, random idea. What do you think of rebooting the TV show 24, but make it an anthology show like True Detective? You follow a different agent in each season for 24 hours. Love you, John. Oh, thank you, Jonathan. That's very kind of. I don't know you, but I love you right back. How about that? This is a good idea. I mean, they tried to reboot it. Remember with Corey Hawkins? Is that the guy's name who was in Straight Outta Compton and the Last Voyage of the Demeter, I think is what it's called. They tried to reboot. It didn't quite work. The ratings weren't strong. And of course you had the standard people like, why'd you give me a black guy when it's supposed to be Kiefer Sutherland? Brr. There was that kind of nonsense. So that sank the show. But overall, it just wasn't, a lot of people didn't feel it was a good show. And the critics didn't think it was a good show either. So it kind of sank that approach. But the idea you're talking about, I think there's always going to be people who want to see a version of 24. So the idea of following a separate agent in each season of 24, I think that could be a really interesting situation. You know, there's a show that probably not a lot of you know about, but there's a show called A Very English Scandal that's on Prime Video. You guys know I'm an Anglophile, and the Lady Outlaws, we watch British stuff all the time. That show has different people each season. It chronicles a historical, actual case or situation, and they bring in new actors, and they portray real-life characters in this situation of different times in British history. So I could absolutely see different agent every season. That could be the one you follow for 24. That could be a lot of fun. You know, I found an old interview I did with the guys who wrote A Quiet Place. One of my final things I did for Collider was doing a red carpet at the Saturn Awards. And I happened to find the interview I did with them because I was trying to find my stuff because I kind of want to see if I can play around, do some shorts or put up stuff on TikTok from old content that I've done or create a reel. And I asked them, like, wouldn't it be, one of the ideas I had when I was doing Movie Talk was that it would be really interesting if Quiet Place, you could do Quiet Place is like a thing you could do in all the countries. You could do a Quiet Place Germany, a Quiet Place set in Russia, set in France. And I presented it to the guys, and the guys were kind of into it. And they were just like, yeah, I mean, that's an awesome idea. And that when we first created A Quiet Place, we kind of wanted it to feel like a global story. But we hadn't quite gotten to the point where we think it could be different cities, but it could absolutely work in different cities. So the same thing here with this 24 idea, a different agent being involved in a different case every season, maybe even a different president. So you could go back and forth the time. You could have an agent in the 1970s dealing with something, the 1980s, 1990s, 2010s, could be, and it could mirror an actual threat that happened at that time to affect the country or affect the president. So that's a very good idea, Jonathan. I'd be down with that. Puerto Geekin is in here. What's up, Puerto Geekin? Always good to see you. He said, Rocha's Legion. Let's go. Yeah, that's right. That's what we were talking about as a possibility, changing the Outlaw Nation to Rocha's Legion. We will see if that's the way it goes, but it's a lot of fun to consider it. Thank you, dude. It's great to see you, brother. Always love seeing you on the Hangouts, man. Always love hearing your voice, dude. Timothy R. Williams says, "G'day, mate." What's up, Timothy? Always good to see you. I'm on a holiday, so get to watch live. Hope you're doing well, brother. Have you been paying attention? Should be back in Australia soon. Hoping you're still watching it. Also tell the Lady Outlaw I said g'day too. Love you, mate. Hooroo. Timothy, it's so great to hear from you, man. We used your VPN that you let us have to watch season 3 of Fisk, which isn't even out in the States. And it just finished airing, I think, in the last months of last year. We finished all 8 episodes over 2 days. Loved it. We absolutely watched all of Have You Been Paying Attention last year. And we're breathlessly anticipating the new season when it comes out. Constantly checking on the Nord, on the VPN to see if it's come out yet. It hasn't. So thank you, Timothy. Like, honestly, just thank you very much for that, because I think we're going to try to find Rosehaven now in HD, because the way we watched it before was on Daily Motion. We watched on Daily Motion, and it was like a standard def level of quality. So we might revisit that entire series and watch them all in HD if we can find them on using the Nord there in Australia. So we will see. But thank you, Timothy, man. You've honestly been a lifesaver for us when we're like wondering what to watch, you know. All right, so that's all the Streamlabs and the Super Chats, I think, that have come through. Thank you all so much for watching the show today and the show tonight. You guys have been amazing. Anything else I'm missing? Anything else? I was going to get into some Diddy stuff, some Poker Face stuff, but we're going to have to let that be because we're already well over 2 hours into this show, and I've got a hot mic show at noon tomorrow. Don't forget, 12 p.m. PT, 3 p.m. ET tomorrow, the hot mic. We're going live tomorrow, 12 p.m. PT, Jeff and I, to catch up on all the big news of the week. I'm sure a couple of items we talked about tonight will be talked about there with Jeff, but a bunch of other stuff that we didn't talk about we're going to get into on the hot mic. And I will consistently be doing these. Of course, not one tomorrow because we're already going live with a hot mic, but I will try to do these consistently, maybe Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Then you'd have the hot mic and Geek Buddies for Thursday and Friday, but we'll see. I may add a Friday show, maybe a late Friday show with me and some wine, just talking about the week and talking about life. Maybe that's more of the laid back, relaxed, let's not talk about entertainment necessarily, but talk about life, mental health stuff, talk about, working out, talking about anything we want to talk about that could be a positive. Maybe that's the decompress show where people who are stressed out about the week can come and hang out, and I can hear from you guys and you can ask me questions and we can just sit and talk over wine or beer or whatever, or water, whatever you feel like drinking. So there's a very real possibility we can make that like a Friday show. So we'll see. I just have ideas for sure. So I don't know if Christian moved. I don't know if he's doing a 12 o'clock show. So I don't keep track of Christian's shows because that's his channel. I'm my channel. So I don't know what the situation is, but maybe I'll text him tonight and find out what his feelings are about that, and then text Jeff back. So we will see. All right. Wiley Todd. Thank you, Wiley. Says, Rocha, did you see the trailer for McVeigh about the Oklahoma City bombing? Excited to watch this story after hearing about it my whole life. No, I have not seen the trailer. Is it a documentary, or is it a dramatization, a fictionalized dramatization, so to speak, of the situation? I will take a look for it because we're going to watch the Black Hawk Down one at some point, the one that's on Netflix. We just finished the Lockerbie show. If you guys haven't seen Lockerbie, thank you, Wiley, for that, by the way, but I will watch that trailer. Oh, it is a movie. It's a drama movie. Okay, so let me queue up that trailer for myself to watch when I'm done with this with the show here. But like, we just finished watching Lockerbie on Hulu, on Peacock. I cannot recommend that show enough. I thought Colin Firth did an excellent job in that show. Oh wow, it's what's his face from Game of Thrones. It's Alfie Allen. Yeah, Lily Allen's brother who plays McVeigh. Oh, interesting. All right, I'll take a look at the trailer when I'm done here, brother. Nice suggestion. Anyway, we just finished Lockerbie, and if you know anything about that Lockerbie situation, I thought the show was excellent. So I highly recommend you all watching that show if you haven't seen it, if you're looking for something new to dive into. Is that everything else? Is there anything else that we've been watching? Yeah, I haven't caught up on Love is Blind, the new season. I'll probably end up doing that sometime tomorrow and maybe watch the new episodes and do a review over the weekend because I love that show so much. And I think, is that all we've been watching? I think that's all we've been watching, so I can't recommend too much for you all, but that's kind of what we're into right now. We're loving Elsbeth, season 2 of Elsbeth. I personally recommend George and Mandy's First Marriage. That's a fun 21-minute play on your phone or eat lunch and hang out and just do whatever while you watch the show type of show. Highly recommend that on CBS. Yeah, I think that's everything. Oh, and I'm watching the new Court of Gold series on Netflix. I started this morning, watched 3 episodes. That is an awesome series if you guys are into sports. It is a behind-the-scenes exploration of all the countries that were vying for the Olympic gold medal in men's basketball at the most recent Olympics in Paris, France. If you're into these other documentaries that have been on Netflix about the Dream Team and all these kinds of things, it is just as good, if not better, than those documentaries. So, especially because it's a global exploration. So you're getting to go behind the scenes with the French camp, the Spanish camp, the Serbian camp, the United States camp. So it is so cool. So highly, highly recommend it if you guys are into that. Certainly one that I discovered on Netflix. That's awesome. All right. Fredtastic says, let us know if the hot mic is going ham on that lame Billy Bush channel. I will let you know. I'm texted Jeff already. We'll see what Jeff says when he gets a chance to do this thing. Melinda Nowd, hi, Melinda, says, Billy Bush, Megyn Kelly, TMZ, all connected to Brian Friedman. Well, maybe I can get Brian. I'm going to try to get Brian on the show. I know I'm not a 100,000 subscriber YouTube channel, but I would like to get Brian on the show. So maybe I can shake the trees a little bit, see if I can get him on the show. Thank you, Melissa. Appreciate that. Good on you to let me know about that as well. He said, Brian Freeman pretended he hadn't seen the HR reports. Wake up, people. Okay, there you go, Melinda. Yes, Wiley says Rocha, also the new Pixar show called Win or Lose on Disney. Yeah, but it hasn't gotten the best reviews, so I haven't watched it yet. So we will see about that for sure. So yeah, we'll see about that for sure. Stephanie says, yes, sorry, John, I didn't think about that. Not saying you can't, just don't want the audience to be split for your sakes. Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks so much. So let me text Christian when I'm done today, and then I'll text Jeff, because we may go at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe we'll settle that this evening for sure. And people mentioning Paradise on Hulu. Thank you, MLRG1122. You're right. We are going to try that show out real soon and see if it's good. A lot of people talking about it. I haven't watched that episode of Severance. I've never seen Severance in my life, so I've got to catch up on that and watch that and get caught up with season 2. So there's a lot of things I got to do this week. A lot of sitting on my ass watching TV. So hopefully I can get a little workout in every day to keep myself from becoming a massive figure, which some people have done with AI with my face, which is horrific. I found that out today. For those of you who are asking about the legal thing, that's what I'm exploring. I had no idea that was going on, and discovering it has been a terrible thing. So we'll see if there's any recourse or any actions I can take here, because I have no problem if people want to contradict what I talk about or take a different point of view or whatever. It's no problem. But if you're using my likeness in that way, it's not cool. My mother reached out to me when she saw that post, and she was very upset. And so, we're going to handle it, see how we can go through the steps, and hopefully there's a positive result in the end, because everyone's got a right to speak their mind, and it's free speech. But, when you're taking someone's likeness and you're turning them into this grotesque representation of their body and their face, that's a crossing of the lines. And so I hope we'll see what happens, what I can do with it. We'll see where we can go, and we'll see if there's any recourse through the normal channels. And I've already had 2 lawyers reach out to me, and having conversations with them about what possibilities. Doesn't mean I'm going to sue anybody, go after anybody. I'm more in the finding out phase. Let's see, what are the options? What are the possibilities? Maybe nothing can be done, and I'm just kind of SOL. But I don't think there's anything wrong in trying to stop that situation from happening, because I seem to be the only person that they are doing that with. And look, I get it. I put on a few pounds during COVID, but I certainly didn't put on the amount of pounds that they are portraying me as, and the looks and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, it's crossing lines. It screams of a personal attack, and it screams of a bitterness that I just don't understand. Disagree, clip my stuff out, and you make fun. That's standard stuff. That's what you do on YouTube. But using my likeness and using AI as a SAG actor, there are recourses I have having my face used to promote content that I am not in favor of, nor have I given my permission to. So I think there are avenues to explore with all of that, to see what's going on, to see what we can explore legally and what we can explore through the proper channels of YouTube. So for those of you who know about the situation, if you guys have seen those thumbnails, it's pretty horrific. And as I said, I'm pretty thick skin. I can handle I get emotional. Yeah, I go back and forth, but I can handle it. I never turn off the comments on any of my stuff. I may delete your comments because you're being an a-hole, but I don't turn off the comments. I had to do that with the election video because it's over. There's no reason to keep getting comments on that. But usually on all my content, I never turn off the comments. So it's just this situation where it's like, it's gotten untenable. And I am absolutely I've got 2 lawyers I'm speaking to today who are very kind to reach out after my post on Twitter. And so we're going to see what the avenues and the options are that I have, because I just want those pictures removed. That's the only thing. And so we'll see if that's a possibility. So Frankie says, hey, Rocha, I didn't hear the super chat I submitted. Frankie, what did you submit, Frankie? Let me see. I don't see any super chat from you, Frankie. Oh, here we go. Sorry, Frankie. We're right after I'm Too Fly Cam. Sorry about that. Thank you for reminding me. Frankie C said, my dead friend Zoe was an amazing movie I seen on Monday. Have you seen it, John? It was a powerful movie that made me cry. No, let me take a look. My dead friend Zoe. What is it about? Okay. Sonequa Martin Green, Natalie Morales. Oh, yes. I've heard. Oh, this is a very funny. Apparently, this is a little bit. Yeah, right. It's a military film with Natalie Morales, who keeps seeing Sonequa Martin Green, right? So I guess she died in war, or is it Sonequa who keeps seeing Natalie? So probably Sonequa who keeps seeing Natalie, and she died in war, and now she's got to navigate. Okay, I will absolutely watch this film. Thanks for the recommendation. This is absolutely up my alley, Frankie C. So I'm glad you liked it. Based on your recommendation, I will watch it and get back to you on it. So there we go. All right, thank you. And thank you, Karen. I appreciate that, saying we're on your side, Rogue. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that very madly. You guys are amazing. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. We got to wrap this thing up. We're at 2 hours and 34 minutes. We got to go, y'all. Thanks for the Streamlabs. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for the lively chat. Thanks for a lot of you who've been coming onto these live streams with me. I see a lot of the familiar faces, a lot of the same faces. You know, this could turn into a thing. This is very real, very possible. If there's enough content every day for me to talk about, this could be the new way to go, because I like going live. I really do. I know it's easier maybe to do a 10-minute, 15-minute video and people see it, but I like going live. Doesn't mean I can't still do those videos in the early in the day and put them up, but certainly this is more my cup of tea. So I appreciate you all going along with me with this experience and seeing if it's going to ultimately be what I'm going to do with my YouTube channel. So thanks, guys. I love you. Thanks so much again. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And remember what I say at the end of every one of these live streams, you know, that I do solo. Please remember, whatever you need to do to get through the next second, next minute, next hour, next day, next week, next month, next year, you got to do it. I want you to do it. Listen, now more than ever, I know it is tough out there. I've certainly had some dark days. I've certainly had some tough moments, some overwhelmed moments, some despondent moments. That's part of being an empathetic person, part of being a person with feelings, a vulnerable person. You're going to be affected by the world because you care about the world. You care about what's happening. You want things to change. You want things to be better. You want the world to be a much more accepting and loving place. It's not always going to be that way, and it can be tough, and especially when you see some of the things that are happening outside your house, outside your apartment, outside in the world, all the way up to the top of the presidency. It can feel very overwhelming. So now more than ever, you have got to take care of yourself. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. There's not much you're going to be able to do about it. What you can do about it is taking care of you so that you're in the best frame of mind to react and to behave. Is that the word, behave? Or to react and to act, I guess is what I'm saying. To react and to act when stuff goes down that might affect you. Having a clear mind, having a very stable foundation within yourself so that you can take these moments before, as things happen, to take a breath and figure out what you want to do and do what's best for you. It's very important. We can all get caught up with our emotions. Certainly, I've been guilty of that. We can all get caught up in the moments and lose ourselves a little bit. And that's why you've got to work really hard now more than ever to make sure you've got the tools in place so that when the dark days come, when the dark moments come, you can figure out how to navigate your way out of there and come to a better place. And it always happens, right? You, all of you who've survived dark moments, the sun does come out. You've seen the evidence of the sun coming out, even in those moments when you felt like, my God, there's no way I can climb out of this. The sun has come out. So it is possible. So remember those. Even when you're in the darkest moments, remember those situations. Develop your tools. It's really important to practice and develop your tools. No different than a muscle or no different than practicing your job. It is important to practice and develop those tools for yourself so that you can call on them when you need them in critical moments. Super important. So just want to tell you that. I love you guys. You're the best. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And do me a favor and do something good for yourself over the next few days because you deserve it. All right? I'm telling you. You do. You do. All right. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Remember to subscribe down below. Hit that bell button. If you're watching later, you made it through the whole thing. I hope you've been leaving your comments or leave your comments now about the stuff we talked about. And hey, if you want to send in some support as a thank you for all we do here on the Outlaw Nation or for these live streams, or if in any way the things I say kind of put a smile on your face or help you get through anything, you can always hit that thanks button, send in some love, or you can subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/John Rocha, or you can send in ideas for me or DM me ideas for YouTube memberships, because that's the next step. I want to get that launched by next week. And I want to make sure we can develop tiers and I can deliver benefits for you all that want to be part of the YouTube membership. So just let me know what you think is smart from the other YouTube channels you've seen doing it. Let me know there when you send in your DMs. All right. Much love to you guys. Take care of yourselves. And I'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of The Nation here on the Outlaw Nation channel. John Rocha, out.